This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good day. We're on the air with a mass shooting situation in Southern California right now. Undetermined number of people hit, perhaps multiple suspects on the loose right now. This is the tape we're just getting in from the scene in San Bernardino, California. That's about an hour and a half, 2 hours east of Los Angeles. We've seen a number of walking wounded, people being brought in on stretchers. There is clearly a mass casualty situation here. There was a triage area being set up. We have seen pictures. Police acknowledge that they're looking for as many as 3 people in this shooting incident. We don't have an exact location of where it happened, whether it was inside or outside, but we've seen a number of people in this intersection we're looking at here being brought, laid down in clearly a triage situation. There you have a shot of it, and being treated on the scene. The number of casualties unknown. Exactly how all this played out unknown. So we're going to ask you to just stay with us here as we learn more about this. Our Blake McCoy is standing by in our Los Angeles newsroom. Blake, what are you hearing from there?
Well, we are working to get confirmation as you are. We're hearing the same thing, and we're seeing those images from the street in San Bernardino with multiple people wounded. They've set a triage center up in the middle of the street there in San Bernardino and are working to help those injured people. We're hearing reports that shots were fired. One person was in a building nearby. Someone came in and told them to take cover, so they went into a bathroom and were hiding. That person didn't actually hear any shots, but people were yelling for others to take cover in that area. Again, we are working to confirm as well if this is in fact an active shooter situation, how many people they're looking for, but pretty graphic, dramatic scenes coming from there right now.
And we can tell you that police have put a lookout for a vehicle that may be related to this. This is largely unedited video you're seeing here as ambulances and fire trucks now responding to this intersection, which is clearly the triage area for the wounded. We've seen some people brought in on stretchers. Others have been literally hobbling from ambulances to an area where they can get looked at. We don't have any information on any deaths right now, but we have seen clearly a number of people who have been wounded in this incident. Again, police say they're looking for as many as 3 individuals in relation to this shooting, and we haven't quite pinpointed exactly where this took place. We're seeing these pictures as reports began coming in within the last 15 minutes or so. And again, these pictures, for the most part, unedited at this triage scene. This, of course, on the heels of that shooting last week in Colorado Springs. Blake, do you have more information?
Well, I was just going to tell you, we've been looking at what buildings are in this area, and there's nothing that would indicate an obvious target. We have not seen any government buildings at Planned Parenthood, for example. We looked up the Planned Parenthood in that area. It's about a mile away from this site. So no obvious targets that we can discern right now.
Obviously, this is being heavily covered on our NBC station, KNBC in Los Angeles. Let's dip into their coverage now.
Hard number yet on whether it was more than one gunman, but in terms of victims here, we see multiple people here being treated, being assisted from trucks there, from cars there, again at the intersection of Orange Show Road and South Waterman Avenue in San Bernardino.
And we're getting some information now from the wires. AP is reporting that police in San Bernardino are responding to an active shooter at the social services facility. Again, that's the Inland Regional Center, which is right across the street from the public golf course in San Bernardino. It's a facility that helps set up services for the developmentally disabled. So that's our first indication that this perhaps is the location of the shooting situation. But you can see people are being treated here in the intersection, and this intersection obviously shut down because of that.
Okay, on the phone with us right now, we have Lieutenant Richard Lawhead with the San Bernardino Police Department. Are you there, Lieutenant?
Yes.
Okay, we are, again, trying to sift through a multitude of information here. What can you tell us?
Yeah, the only thing I can really tell you is that, we got the call at about 11 o'clock this morning. We got a call of shots fired. We had then reports of multiple victims down. We are not only using our SWAT team, but SWAT teams from other jurisdictions in an effort to clear the facility and make sure everything is safe. Obviously, we're trying to treat the people as quickly as we can and determine if there is still an active an emergency or an active shooter in any way, shape, or form in or around the area.
So, Lieutenant, can you confirm that the shooting originated in the Inland Regional Center? Is that accurate?
That is what's being reported. I don't know exactly where it started. I know it's inside that facility someplace, but I'm not sure what the exact circumstances are surrounding that.
Okay, and it's also been confirmed by your department if that 1 to 3 possible suspects. Is that true?
I can't confirm how many suspects or whether this was all a single incident. I'm not actually on scene. Sergeant Cervantes is actually covering the scene and is on scene.
Are we hearing reports of shots still being fired? Are you aware of whether this has been resolved at this point, or is it an ongoing?
I'm not sure that there's I'm not sure that there's any active shooting going on right now.
And again, the victims here, are they coming out from the Inland Regional Center or from surrounding areas?
It's right now, as far as we know, it's confined to the Inland Regional Center right now.
And any word on how many casualties we're talking about? We are getting our first video from the scene, and we're seeing a number of people being treated and triaged. Do you have any numbers for us?
No, I do not have any of those, and I'm sure it'll be a little bit of time before that. I know like I said, it's still a very active scene.
Sure.
We train for these type of situations all the time. The idea is to get in quickly, secure the scene as quickly as possible, while still preserving evidence and everything else. But our highest priority is to deal with the victims and make sure they get the medical attention as quickly as possible. So we want to make sure there's not an injured victim hiding someplace that may think that it's not safe to come out. We need to check every nook and cranny to make sure everybody is safe before we call the all clear.
And Lieutenant, for folks who are watching this right now and they know they have loved ones in the area, what are you telling those people to do?
I'm just telling them remain calm. Obviously, it's a very tense situation. It's easy for me to say that. But our officers are working diligently and as quickly as possible to locate our victims and then put those family members that may have people in that area at ease as quickly as possible. We know it's stressful for them, and we'll do what we can to resolve it as quickly as possible.
And so I would imagine your advice for people in that area who might be hearing this report is to shelter where they are?
Yeah, I would shelter where you are. I would not come to the scene. I would not try to get a first-hand look. Obviously, we don't know everything that we're looking for yet, it's best to stay out of the area and let emergency personnel handle the issue.
Yeah, and we're looking at pictures here first on the scene here. And again, do we know the extent of the injuries? So we see some folks being assisted. Okay.
I do not have any hard numbers or anything else. I got a real quick briefing from the watch commander and started to make some calls to try and help alleviate some of the pressure that Sergeant Cervantes has on scene.
Yeah, because certainly, we want to get information out to our viewers. You were telling us that the way that this is handled is that multiple SWAT units respond. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Los Angeles station KNBC. If you are just joining us, let's catch you up with what we know. There has been a mass shooting at what we believe is a developmental services building in San Bernardino, California. There have been a great number of casualties. We have seen people being brought in on stretchers, some literally in the back of pickup trucks as they were apparently removed from the scene to this triage area where paramedics now are taking the most seriously wounded in order to the hospital. We believe this occurred, according to that interview we heard a moment ago, at the Inland Regional Center. It's a California state facility run by the California Department of Developmental Services. This is the view from the air now, from the KNBC helicopter. They have apparently asked some people in the area to remain sheltered in place if they are in a safe place right now, as others who were in the line of fire or wounded have been brought out any way they can to a safe area for treatment. But you see the long line of people now crossing the street here, many with their hands up. Now, this is typical of people who have been in a situation in which they may have been held hostage. Police in these situations will have to assume anyone coming out is potentially a bad guy until they can prove otherwise. So you'll note that their hands are up. We have sadly seen this in so many situations like this, going back to Columbine. People being let out of buildings where there have been shooters, their hands held high. In terms of suspects, according to the police lieutenant we heard a few minutes ago, there could be as many as 3. involved in this shooting incident. We don't know what the targets, what the motive was, or exactly who was involved, or whether this is still truly an active shooter situation. Police, assuming that it is, they have to assume the worst as they continue to search the buildings that are part of this complex. Again, it apparently took place at this Department of Developmental Services building in San Bernardino. It wasn't clear if that's where it started or it involved that area. There are no firm numbers coming in right now in terms of casualties. Clearly, they're still getting a handle on it as they bring people out. Many of them we've seen literally the walking wounded. Others, as we said, put in civilian vehicles, still others in ambulances as we see more people come out of this area now where the shooting apparently took place. Note the sheriff deputies there. Their guns are drawn as they watch these people come out who were either inside where the shooting took place or perhaps held hostage. We haven't heard confirmation on that. But at any rate, they are being freed now from a dangerous situation under the watchful eye of sheriff deputies now with their guns trained on the apparent source of this shooting. Again, this happened about 11 o'clock Pacific time. The report of shots fired came into the sheriff's department. They dispatched their teams there. They were told there are multiple SWAT teams on location right now. And here,
this shot, Aldo.
And here again, we're looking at people who have been removed from this facility. Their hands up as police will check each one to make sure that a shooter, a bad guy, is not hidden among them. It's a standard procedure and it's for everyone's safety. But clearly, people who have been horribly traumatized, this continues to be a horrific situation that they are witnessing. Let's go back and listen a little bit to our station in Los Angeles, KNBC, and their coverage.
In addition to tending to the injured there on scene, we see folks being filed out. What is protocol? What are the steps being taken right now?
Well, right now, obviously, like I just said, we want to make sure we don't let a suspect out. We're not sure what all the situation is. We don't know who our suspects are. And I'm not going to go into detail as to what our protocol is because I don't want everybody to know what our protocol is, obviously. I want to, the protocol is to get in there as quick as we possibly can, deal with any medical emergencies we have while still making sure that we can get, our victims out of there safely, everything else. So.
Need a little bit of room. Wow.
And we are watching people leaving the building right now. This is the view from News Chopper 4 with their arms raised in the air. And they are heading away from the center in the parking lot here, walking toward the different police cars, SWAT units, and all that we see here.
Obviously, we're gonna keep everybody together so we know everybody that's there and who isn't there and that kind of stuff. So we keep everybody together. We're not going to just let them leave and not know who was there and make sure everybody's accounted for at the end of the day.
Hey, Lieutenant, I can only imagine there's going to be an extensive interview process with the folks that are being let out of the building.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt it's going to be a long, lengthy process, and I'm sure it'll be a very serious investigation that won't be over anytime soon.
Do we have any idea how many people were inside this facility? Did you ever hear that kind of number?
No, I didn't get those kind of details. I got very minimum details.
Sure. We can see that it's a very large facility, and we do know that it is a center for the developmentally disabled. But as you mentioned, it's also a training facility. Michael mentioned there's a holiday boutique that was scheduled there for tomorrow, so perhaps people there setting up today. But we're just speculating at this point. We do see a large number of people being escorted from the building by officers. Their hands are in the air as they come out as this building is secured.
Right.
All right. Again, Lieutenant Lawhead, thank you so much. We have Megan Reyes live over the scene here for us. Megan, are you with us?
I am with you, and we're trying to get a good bearing of this the scene. You can understand, as we've been telling you, it's still an active scene. We're in communication with the San Bernardino police helicopter, and they're asking us not to show the building in detail. So right now we need to basically comply with their demands, considering this is an active scene. So we don't want to compromise their position. But you can see this is Waterman Avenue right there, a very chaotic scene. We have literally dozens and dozens of police officers on scene. We're also looking for the paramedics. On my way here, I was monitoring San Bernardino County, and I kept hearing them call for additional paramedics. There were some actually additional resources coming from cities, surrounding cities. So still an active scene, and as we saw the protocol, individuals were coming out of the building with their hands up. One thing that I noticed is perhaps a supervisor was taking away their security badge so they cannot get back into a building. That's one thing that I did notice. So that's obviously all for security reasons. Now these people were being taken out of this building here. I don't want to show the details while we're on the air, but they were being escorted into this vicinity, this park here. So they were probably being screened here. Some more people coming out. In fact, those are officers. You can see how many officers, and a lot of them are in plain clothes. Those are SWAT officers. Some of them were not even working. They got the call and they just went straight to the scene. A lot of them in their private vehicles. So it just shows you the situation right now, the dire situation, how quickly and urgently officers responded to this active shooter call.
Megan, within the last
report coming from the member of the KNBC staff aboard the helicopter providing the pictures you're seeing. If you are just joining us, we've interrupted programming here for coverage of what appears to be a mass shooting in San Bernardino, California. The location is the Inland Regional Center. It's a facility that deals with developmental disabilities in Riverside and San Bernardino, California, a state agency. There is not a number on the number of casualties here. We have seen a great deal of people being treated at a triage center. Some were being brought in civilian vehicles, apparently taken from the line of fire out to the safe area for triage and further medical follow-up. The police are confirming at least one, possibly as many as 3 suspects. And on that news, let me bring in Clint Van Sant right now. He's a former FBI profiler. Clint, we have sadly become accustomed to mass shootings. A lone gunman, someone with a grudge, someone who has a point to make. When you hear the possibility of 3 shooters, and I know we're going to get into the area of speculation, so we have to be careful, but this breaks the norm, does it not?
Yeah, it really does. As you suggest, the lone white male or the lone crazy male is the profile that we've heard recently. But we have seen, multiple shooter incidents in the past. Three is a large number to come together, and we're getting descriptions of 3 white males in military garb. Some suggesting, if in fact there's 2 or 3, that they may be wearing body armor. I mean, this is highly suggestive of should there be more than one. This was, again, unfortunately, a planned incident with weapons, uniforms, clothing, body armor assembled. Now, we know, of course, San Bernardino is about 60 miles east of L.A. It's a community of about 200,000. But one more time, as you suggest, it continues to show these situations can happen anywhere. And just like this last week, we're trying to figure out the motive of this lone shooter we had last week at an abortion clinic. One more time, not only are we trying to figure out identity and deal with the wounded, but we'll be back with the hand-wringing, trying to understand what may have motivated up to 3 individuals to strike out in this way.
And right now, a lot of what we're telling you may change. So we'll ask you to stay with us and bear with us as we cover this unfolding situation. Police still acting on the assumption that's an active shooter situation. They are clearing buildings. We have seen people brought out of these buildings who are building with their hands up, people who were apparently in the line of fire, maybe held hostage. We don't know, but certainly in a situation that they needed to be checked over as they were brought out of the area. As you may have heard, KNBC's helicopter reporter noting, again, this is taking place at the Inland Regional Center. It's part of the California Department of Developmental Services. And to help us understand a little bit more about this facility and what it does, I'm joined on the phone by Judy Mark. She is on the board of disability rights at essentially the agency that oversees this regional center. Judy, can you tell us what this center does?
So there are 21 regional centers throughout the state of California, and they are the agency that provides the funding for services for people with developmental disabilities, from birth to death. They are a critical part of service provision for anyone with autism or cerebral palsy or epilepsy or Down syndrome. These are people who are the most vulnerable in our society.
Does this center actually, do clients come to this center, or is this all administrative?
Clients do come to this center, not every day, but on a very frequent basis. You will see clients coming in and out for meetings. There's a lot of support systems that happen there, support groups. Small children who are at the ages of 2 and 3 years old go there to get diagnosed with a disability. So there's usually a family resource center in every regional center that provides kind of guidance for families with new diagnosis or going through transitions. So you will definitely see people with developmental disabilities not only getting services there, but also many of them work at these regional centers.
I take it you have been to this particular center. The pictures we saw, there are numerous buildings. If you were trying to find a bad guy in this place, this could be a very difficult search, could it not?
Yes. Yes, it's an enormous complex. It is actually the largest regional center in the state of California, serving over 20,000 individuals. Most of the other regional centers are far smaller. They have over 600 employees that work there. So it's quite a substantial agency with a budget of hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Have you been in contact with any of your colleagues or peers from there this morning or this afternoon?
I have tried reaching out to them, and I cannot find them. They are not answering their phones, obviously. I have been in touch with several parents who have children who are serviced through there. They were not in the building at the time, and they are safe.
It's frightening for all of us to watch, but being familiar with this and some of the people there, this must be especially upsetting for you.
It is horrible. I mean, these are individuals, if there are any individuals with disabilities in that building, these are people sometimes with very severe autism whose sensory systems are very difficult. So you have the alarms going off. You're having to follow orders from police that they're not accustomed to following. I mean, this could be a crisis upon crisis that you wouldn't see in a typical situation.
All right, Judy, Mark, thank you very much for offering some insight on this facility and what it does.
Sure that everything is safe at the scene. We have a number of things we have to go through to make sure that that scene is safe. It's not just a real quick thing. We've got to look in every closet. We've got to look in every attic. We've got to make sure that there isn't a victim or a suspect hiding someplace that we've missed. And you can see the size of that facility. It's going to take a while.
You talked about earlier when we had you on with us. Folks have got to check every nook and cranny of that building. It's a 3-story building here that houses a number of different rooms, and again, a very laborious project ahead.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be a very tedious process, and it's not going to be quick. Our number one priority right now is human life. Then we'll worry about the criminal aspects later, but our concern right now is human life, and anybody that may be in need of any kind of medical attention, that's our number one priority.
We're hearing from San Bernardino police a confirmation that the suspect wearing tactical gear. Can you shed any more light on that? And do we know if it is just one shooter, or is there still the possibility that there could be multiple shooters?
Well, I don't know that we've released any of that information. I don't know if any of that is factual information. Again, Sergeant Cervantes is on scene and has the most up-to-date information, and she should be the only one giving you accurate information. I know that, with social media and everything that we have today, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of theories and a lot of things that are going on, but, Vicki is the only one on scene that is getting the first-hand information from the people on the ground that can give you accurate information. If we did have good suspect information right now, I'm sure the media and the public would be the first ones that we would notify. However, it's critical that we get the right information and get it out there right the first time. We don't want somebody getting hurt. We don't want the wrong person accused of anything. It's important that we get accurate information. So as soon as we have accurate information, I'm sure that the media will be our first spot. We're not going to, it's important. If we know of a suspect and we have an idea of a vehicle or description, that's going to be one of the first things we get out.
So, Lieutenant, at this point, and we're heading now into the hour number 2 of this whole thing since you guys first got the call. Has that building been evacuated? Has all the staff members, all the clients been evacuated and taken out of that building?
We're still in the process of clearing it, and we have taken a number of people out. Again, we have not given the all clear yet. There are a number of things that we have to go through. You know, we look for all kinds of stuff. We look for secondary devices. We look for all kinds of stuff that may be out there, and we call in a lot of experts that are on call to come in and make sure before we give the all clear. So that is all still in the process of being done. It's still a very active scene.
Do you have any idea at this point how many people have been evacuated from the building?
No, I don't have a number of that.
And any idea on injuries or deaths yet?
No, I hate to even put a number out there until I have an accurate number to give you, and we have not determined that number yet.
Pickup truck and taken apparently across that parking lot to safety, and they're being led away to the triage area to determine the extent of their injuries and get them the proper treatment. We're hitting the top of the hour now. It's 4 o'clock Eastern time. It is 1 o'clock in the West right now. If you were just joining us, we are covering a mass shooting at a state developmental disabilities office in California, San Bernardino, California. Undetermined number of people hit, undetermined number of shooters. Police right now still trying to secure the area. SWAT teams going room to room inside the buildings on that office complex or campus, if you will, looking for potential shooters, victims, and also securing against any kind of devices that may be there. A number of people safely evacuated from the building, others injured, taken to triage areas a few blocks away, where they were then transferred to hospitals, some in ambulances, some by helicopter. We have lost our aerial shots for now because authorities have requested that news helicopters move away from the scene. We have, of course, complied. They're very obviously cognizant of anything that might betray the tactics or what the SWAT teams are actually doing right now inside those buildings as they try to secure the situation. On the bottom of your screen, you see KNBC reporting as many as 3 dead. The authorities simply saying we do have some fatalities. We do want to go to the scene right now. NBC's Miguel Almaguer is on the phone. Miguel, what can you tell us?
Hey, Lester, good evening. We can tell you here, we just arrived on scene. It is a very active crime scene. There are several police helicopters in the air. As you likely know, they have told our affiliate to back their helicopter away. Seems as though some type of indication that they are searching for a suspect. I can tell you officers here on the ground, even several blocks away from where this incident took place, are heavily armed. They have rifles, they have shotguns, and they are trying to keep the public back as far as they can. There's also several ambulances here on scene. So clearly this is still a very active scene here, Lester, as police are trying to coordinate their response from here.
And what about people who are trying to get to the scene? I can only imagine if you've been watching TV or you know someone that works in this building, your desire would be to check on your loved one. Have you seen people coming there?
Certainly, Lester. There are dozens and dozens of people here at the edge of the street, as close as they can get, at least through police, here waiting for any type of information. It's unclear if these are possible parents or family members of some of the victims or the potential victims or folks who know people that may work inside this building. But the area is also lined here with pedestrians who are clearly looking and anticipating more information about the scene here.
All right, we want to go to Tom Costello now in Washington. Tom, as we noted, the president has been notified of what's going on here. Members of Congress, leadership have responded. What about federal law enforcement? To what extent do we know that they might be getting involved here?
Lester, ATF and FBI are already on the scene and responding. I can tell you that we know that the assistant director of the FBI LA field office is personally responding. So is the special agent in charge of the entire LA division. He will be on the scene shortly, we are told. To pick up on the conversation you were having earlier about mass shootings in this country when you were talking to Clint Van Zandt, the Washington Post pointing out that this would, believe it or not, be the second mass shooting today alone. There was another one earlier today in Savannah, Georgia, in which one person was killed and 3 people were injured. And we have a count of about 375 people killed so far this year in mass shooting incidents in this country alone. And by the way, today is the 18th anniversary of that high school shooting in Paducah, Kentucky. And in that particular case, a 14-year-old, as you may recall, killed 3 suspects, injured 5. Yeah, he went to prison. He's now 32 years old.
All right, Tom Costello, let's go back to the scene. Miguel Almaguer, you have some more news?
Yeah, Lester, we know that the SWAT team had been here for some time, but I can tell you there's also a heavy presence from the bomb squad. We just saw 3 bomb squad technicians in 3 different vehicles roll past us at a very high speed. So they are certainly trying to get to the crime scene here. We had heard reports that it's possible the suspects may have left some type of explosive devices in the building. Police certainly taking that very seriously as those officers now move in.
Yeah, that jibes, Miguel, with what we heard from a police lieutenant interviewed on KNBC a while ago. He said that they are looking for secondary devices, which I'm not sure his terminology, if he's referring to they had found other devices, but nonetheless, they've got to look for anything suspicious. And then again, that is standard protocol in these sorts of situations. We all, of course, are anxious to hear about injured, about casualties, about whether the shooter or shooters are in custody, but those answers will come slowly. As was pointed out, it's all right now about the safety of those who are working this scene and any innocent person who may still be in there. And so we will watch this unfold. The helicopters have been asked, I believe this is tape you're looking at, the helicopters have been asked to move back to allow the police to do what they do and to do their tactical maneuvers as they search room to room, floor to floor inside that facility. If you were with us very early in the coverage, the initial reports we were getting from police, 1 to 3 suspects, and some of the radio traffic seemed to indicate multiple suspects. We don't know that to be the case. We have to assume this came from people, witnesses who were there, who were coming out, as to what they heard or what they surmised from what they heard. But police, of course, have to go on every possibility, including the worst possibility that there was more than one shooter and that they are still inside that facility. And there go the caution that we're seeing and the methodical nature of how they respond to these sorts of things. San Bernardino police, of course, there, along with county sheriff and other law enforcement agencies, have responded here. Some members of SWAT teams were told coming in on their time off, their day offs, to join here in this search. We saw some of them go by in one of those armored Bearcat vehicles, much like we saw play out only a few days ago in Colorado Springs at the shooting there. This is a situation that these departments have practiced and have planned for, and they're carrying it out, unfortunately, under these horrible circumstances. In terms of casualties, again, KNBC reporting at least 20 injured, at least 3 dead. The only indication we have officially is that they do have some fatalities. A spokesman, though, declined to offer a number, noting that they're still getting a handle on exactly what they're seeing here. You've seen a number of people in these videos on stretchers and some being walked in. They were apparently carried from the scene. We don't know if they had come out of the building on their own. They were scooped up into civilian vehicles or what have you. But clearly this medical triage facility or makeshift facility was set up in the street there, and that is where they were initially brought. We believe all of those who were brought there, at least to that point, have now been removed to hospitals, either via helicopter or ambulance, and are receiving treatment. What we don't know, and frankly what we fear for, is what officers may find inside the building. There's only a rough description of a shooter who is reported to be wearing tactical gear, perhaps a ballistic vest. As far as the type of weapon, there's some speculation, but it would seem to be something capable of pumping out a lot of bullets at a rapid fire. We're watching KNBC's coverage out of Los Angeles. Let's dip back in and listen.
I don't know if she heard gunshots or if someone told her, but she immediately went and hid in a back office somewhere with some other people, and they locked themselves in and they hid.
And again, to reiterate what he just said, he got word that his daughter is safe. She was escorted out of the building, but she was hiding in there.
Hiding in the back office with a few other people. I'd imagine being there in the workplace doing your job, and all of a sudden you're hearing multiple gunshots being fired off.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. We're hearing that the San Bernardino Board of Supervisors is holding an emergency meeting. That will take place. Actually, it's just getting underway. We're told 1 o'clock today to talk about this shooting. And we're also told that San Bernardino County plans to issue a statement after that meeting.
And again, Loma Linda Hospital confirmed.
We're going to cut away from KNBC's coverage now. Right now, we're joined on the phone by Olivia Bozak. She's the Department of Public Affairs for the San Bernardino County Sheriff. Olivia, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Tell us what we know right now, what you know right now.
So what we know is that this incident really happened around 11 o'clock today, so around 2 hours ago. There's an active shooter at the Inland Regional Center, and that's a place where they do training for special needs, autistic, mentally and physically impaired. There's an active shooter there. So far, from what San Bernardino PD has told us, that we have confirmed at least 1 to 3 possible suspects, and we have multiple victims. So right now, our SWAT team is clearing the building, getting the building, everybody out, and getting everybody out and away from the building.
In terms of those casualty numbers, could you be more specific? Are there any deaths?
We're hearing from the news that there are deaths, but I haven't confirmed anything from San Bernardino PD. They haven't told us of any casualties there.
And we had heard the 1 to 3 suspects earlier. They are clearing this building. Are there indications that the shooters are still there, or is this a precaution and the belief is that they've made their escape?
They don't know yet. That's why they're still doing their the systematic search of the building. So once they determine that, then I'm sure that they'll provide another update. But I just saw her. She just went on the news right now, and she was saying that they don't have much to update. It's just multiple fatalities. We don't have a number yet, and a lot of people are injured.
The people, we've seen pictures of some of the injured people. Perhaps you've seen them as well. Do we know if those are people who ran out of the building and then were therefore rescued?
I'm not sure if they were in the building at the time or outside of the building.
And how many people would have been in this building at this time? Do we have any idea?
I don't think we don't know the number of people because it's 3 rather large buildings. So I don't know about the employee numbers.
San Bernardino PD is obviously the lead law enforcement here because it's in their community. Your folks supporting them. Are your SWAT teams on the ground there as well?
Yes, they are. Our SWAT teams, as well as multiple nearby agencies and other counties that are coming to help us.
Okay. All right, Olivia Bozek, thank you so much for joining us. And please, if you have more information, we would love to hear back from you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Olivia Bozek, Department of Public Affairs, San Bernardino County, confirming largely what we have heard so far, and that as many as 3 suspects in this, that there are multiple victims. There has been a loss of life, but we don't have numbers right now. The SWAT team is clearing. This is a far back picture now as the choppers have moved back, pointing in the direction of that facility right now where those SWAT teams are making their way through the buildings and clearing and making sure there's no suspects or any explosive devices or booby traps of any kind. We had heard a description of one suspect wearing body armor and tactical gear. But again, all this right now is very murky. The first order of business in these cases is to secure the area and make sure no one else is hurt. And so a lot of the answers are going to have to wait in terms of numbers of casualties. SWAT teams, not only from San Bernardino PD, but also the San Bernardino Sheriff have joined in this operation to work their way around. As you can see, there's the way that complex is laid out, numerous buildings there, a large parking lot. Many of those who evacuated out were brought across to that golf course you saw just a moment ago. And the camera now pushing into the intersection that seems to be largely the command post of this operation. People are now being led out. Many of these may have been some of those who were evacuated from the building. They're trying to clear their area. At the same time, they're trying to stop people from coming there who want to check on loved ones. The nature of these sorts of things has changed in this era of rapid communications, and some of the first things we see are tweets purportedly coming from inside these locations, and of course the ability to text loved ones and friends get often very fast word of something like this happening, and we've certainly been monitoring some of those. Clint Van Sant is with us. Clint, as we noted, the helicopters have pulled back. Again, in this era of rapid communication, it has to be a real concern from law enforcement as they're doing a delicate tactical operation like this, that the suspect or suspects are keeping a very close tab on the information as well as to their whereabouts.
Well, they are, Lester. We have seen too many situations where we've had perhaps hostage or barricade situations where the subject or subjects are inside of the barricaded situation, watching on television, watching the tactical teams move, try to get in position to come in and make that rescue. Right now, there's multiple sources giving out a description of a SUV, a black SUV that was allegedly seen leaving the area with upwards of 3 people. Now, as you and I previously discussed, that number is really in flux right now. Whether people saw 3 get in, whether they saw 1 get in, or whether, like in the case of the D.C. sniper, and everybody saw a white van that had nothing to do with the situation, we don't know. But there's enough police cars on the street right now, Lester. They need to look for something. And one of the things they're looking for is that black SUV on the chance it may be related to this situation.
You're watching NBC News live coverage of the mass shooting in San Bernardino, California. Some stations will return to regular programming. For others, NBC News coverage continues. And again, this is the scene from San Bernardino. You see school buses now lined up. We can only presume they are to take some of those who were evacuated to a safer, more secure location. Their cars undoubtedly left in the parking lot as they were hurried to safety. This happened about 11 o'clock this morning Pacific time. A gunman or gunmen burst into this facility in San Bernardino for the developmentally disabled and opened fire. A number of people hit. Authorities do acknowledge there has been a loss of life, a number of people injured, but there are no firm reportable numbers other than what the reporters on the scene have said, that there are at least 3 bodies and a reporter observing 20 people injured there in that triage center. NBC's Tom Costello continues to watch along with us. What do you have, Tom?
Our justice producer, Mike Cosner, who is in touch with federal authorities, says that a BOLO has been issued. BOLO, of course, standing for Be on the Lookout. That goes out to law enforcement agencies throughout the region looking for a black SUV, possibly a Yukon. That is coming from U.S. federal authorities saying that a BOLO has been issued for a black SUV, possibly a Yukon, in that general vicinity. We do not know how many suspects may be in that vehicle, but that at the moment appears to be what police are looking for. And as we mentioned earlier, neighboring L.A. County and the L.A. County Counterterrorism Unit both now have been stood up and are standing by and looking for this vehicle as well. Generally, when these BOLOs go out, and anybody who has ever listened to a scanner or anybody who has ever worked in a newsroom knows that very often you'll hear an alert go out over the radio in which dispatch will say, "Attention all cars, prepare to copy information on a BOLO, be on the lookout," in this case out of San Bernardino. And then they will proceed to give that information to all the officers listening on the radio. At the same time, it's transmitted over the computer terminals that are in every police car in modern-day policing today. And so very often you would have that kind of information transmitted instantly to thousands of law enforcement officers who are on the streets, and they begin aggressively looking for that vehicle. So that is the word that we're getting now from federal authorities, that a BOLO is in fact issued, and they're looking for some sort of a black Yukon in that general area. In the meantime, I would tell you, Lester, to pick up on our conversation about the FBI's concerns over the last few years about the rising number of mass casualty incidents. One of the FBI's behavioral analysts said recently that more and more notable and tragic events, as more and more notable and tragic events occur, we think we're seeing more compromised, marginalized individuals who are seeking inspiration from past attacks. That speaks to this copycat syndrome that they have been concerned about, that very often it seems one incident begets another, and that seems to have been a pattern that they have seen over the last 20 years or so. Lester?
All right, Tom, thanks. We have on the phone right now Larry Becker. He's a spokesman for Loma Linda Medical Center there in Southern California. Larry, you with us?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what you have received in terms of casualties to your hospital?
Sure, absolutely. We have received 4 adult patients so far here at the medical center. We have received word that we should expect 3 more on the way. We have a lot of people standing by ready to help.
Can you tell us, are these gunshot wounds?
I can't confer. I don't know what the nature of the wounds are. but all of these people have come from the area. So.
And I know there's a network of hospitals in that area. Do you know how many hospitals are receiving casualties from this event?
I don't know of other hospitals specifically that are receiving them, but I suspect that there are one or two others fairly close to the area that might be.
And what does this mean in terms of your hospital when something like this happens? How does the word filter down, and what goes into motion?
When we get word on something like this from wherever, from law enforcement, or as things start to arrive, we immediately go into an emergency situation here in our ER, and we start calling people in, and we are fully staffed and ready to take care of these people as they arrive.
Of the 4 adults that you've received, do you have conditions listed on any of them?
I don't have any condition updates right now.
I understand. Treating your patients is obviously the priority. Larry Becker,
right.
Thank you very much. We'll check in with you again if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right. He's with the Loma Linda Medical Center there in Southern California, noting that they have received 4 adult patients related to this incident, and they are expecting 3 more. Typically, in a mass casualty situation, there will be other medical facilities receiving patients. We'll try to get a handle on that and let you know as we learn more. This is, again, the pictures. These are, I believe, live pictures from the ground near the Inland Regional Center, this developmental disabilities center. The command post set up a few blocks away. That is an earlier a map showing you the scene right there. You can see the sprawling parking lot, the number of buildings involved. And they're being searched right now by SWAT teams who their first order of business right now is to secure the scene. We don't know what they have found so far inside that building in terms of any other possible casualties or anything the suspect or suspects have left behind. And I keep saying suspects because the initial reports, and we heard a moment ago, they are still looking at the possibility of 1 to 3 suspects. And also there is a beyond the lookout Ebola alert for a black SUV that may be related to this. Let's dip back into the coverage of KNBC now.
Top of this one. Such a tense situation this morning. Words of shot fire came at 11:04 this morning, and it was an active shooter situation. The word went out. Law enforcement responded. You're looking at pictures of people who were inside the Inland Regional Center. This is where it all happened, and these were employees and perhaps clients who were being evacuated from the building this morning, and it is a very difficult process.
Okay, let's take you back to the scene live here right now, and that picture there pretty new of a school bus, and from what I understand, they're possibly loading folks who were inside that building onto that bus, taking them to the Shell station that Megan had up for us live from News Chapter 4 not too long ago. She's making her way over to perhaps a home, a business we don't know at this point, over at Fair Oaks Avenue in Pasadena, a SWAT situation that she says could be related to what is happening here in San Bernardino. Folks are being told to stay away from that area, though we don't have specifics here for you. But again, a SWAT situation happening on Fair Oaks Avenue in Pasadena. Megan Reyes on her way over to the scene in News Chapter 4.
Yeah, she told us it's probably about 10 minutes away now at this point as she works her way over there. There have been differing reports about what happened here, and we did hear that some witnesses reported seeing a black Yukon leave the scene here. We are not able to confirm that with San Bernardino police, but at this point they are not really confirming any details for us other than to tell us this is an active shooter situation and they're asking people to stay away from this scene. They are telling family members to respond to the Hernandez Center. That's at 222 North Lugo Avenue, near the corner of Sierra Way and East 3rd Street. So the Hernandez Center is the meeting point for people looking to connect with family members. But we don't know at this point what is going on in Pasadena, although the early word is it is believed to be connected to this active shooter situation in San Bernardino. Very unusual. Obviously, you can't help but think about the instances that have been happening globally when we talk about the terror events in Paris and, everyone on heightened alert because of
We've been listening for briefly to coverage on KNBC in Los Angeles of this shooting in San Bernardino, this mass shooting, and you heard them mentioning a situation that may be taking place in Pasadena, California, involving a SWAT operation that may be related to this. Pasadena is about a little over an hour's drive from San Bernardino. It's there in the Los Angeles area. We don't know the connection right now, but as you heard, KNBC is reporting that. We will follow that. They've got someone en route there, and we'll hear from them very shortly. So whether these dots are connected or not, we should learn before long. The latest reports we're getting now from San Bernardino itself, a police spokesperson telling our sister network CNBC the attackers just went in the doors and began shooting, and noted that there's at least 100 officers on the scene there who have, many of them have secured the perimeter while the SWAT teams work the actual buildings themselves, doing this methodical clearing operation. We don't know what they have found in terms of casualties inside. We know that there are reports of at least 20 people who were injured. We heard from a hospital there in the area that has received already 4 adult patients, expects 3 more. Presumably other hospitals will be receiving casualties as well. Authorities have confirmed there are deaths, but we don't know how many. Let's go back to KNBC.
I really can't tell you. I only heard shots, and I'm sorry. I can't really tell you. I didn't see anything.
What did you hear? What is it that you heard?
Just gunfire.
This is an active crime scene? Yeah, it is.
And that there from someone shortly after the shooting, that sound being shot and rolled by our photographer there on the scene, Alex Vasquez. So again, didn't see a gunman, heard multiple shots, obviously still trying to process that, what happened, and she's being ushered out of that building.
We're getting a little more information about the situation in Pasadena. NBC4 reporter Gotti Schwartz tells us there is a perimeter being set up now at the Waterman Discount Mall, which is near schools. We know this is Fair Oaks Avenue.
Look at this.
And we're getting word that this could be related to the SWAT, an active shooter situation taking place here in San Bernardino at the Inland Regional Center.
We're also getting word that there are U.S. Marshals being dispatched to that scene as well. And the Waterman Discount Mall is, North Waterman Avenue, East Olive Street is to the north, and 9th Street there to the south. It's near E. Neil Roberts Elementary School, which is to the south, as well as Sierra High School.
Yeah, a lot of schools in that area.
So again, that there, a second scene, we're getting that information there from our NBC4's Gotti Schwartz. John Keddy's Klimak is on his way to the scene in that Pasadena scene as well. Megan Reyes live overhead. We'll get to her shortly.
Lester Holt back in New York as we continue to cover this unfolding situation in Southern California. The shooting at about 11 a.m. Pacific time at a developmental disabilities office complex in San Bernardino. And now, as you heard, we're getting reports of about an hour away in Pasadena, reports of a SWAT operation. The Waterman Discount Mall has been, a perimeter has been set up around it. We're not clear what the link, if any, is. Stay with us as we try to work our way through this. But in the meantime, Sean Henry, a former FBI official, joins us here in New York. Sean, put your federal cap on right now. If you're watching this play out in San Bernardino, you're hearing the same reports about something that may be playing out at or near a mall an hour away. What's happening at the federal level?
Well, Lester, of course, on the heels of what we've just seen in the last couple of weeks in Paris and in Belgium, certainly concerns that this may be terrorist-related. We've heard about the thoughts and the concerns that ISIS may look to do multiple area shootings, multiple vicinity shootings. This is way too early to make that determination right now. But law enforcement is concerned about that. There's a couple of things that are happening on the ground right now. First of all, when you talk about SWAT officers at the mall area, there may have been a call for some type of an event there. And in abundance of caution, they may have scrambled folks there. But at the site where we saw the shooting today, where we've got people injured and killed, they're still looking to ensure if they've cordoned off that area to see if there are any other subjects in that area. They're looking to collect intelligence from witnesses on the ground. They're looking to do something that might help them to identify who these subjects are.
All right, Sean, let me just interrupt you for a second. I want to just quickly update. We're hearing from our station in Los Angeles now that the situation in Pasadena is not related, and again, not related. We'll find out more about that in a minute, but that's important. But continuing your thought, the initial report, 1 to 3 suspects. When you hear multiple suspects, does that not take this out of the category of the kind of shootings, mass shootings we've dealt with primarily in this country?
I think when we've seen some of the mass shootings we've seen recently domestically, that when we've seen theaters or schools, we've looked at people who have been mentally ill, people who have been struggling, somebody who might have had a personal vendetta. When you talk about multiple shooters, it certainly conjures up the thought this is something that's planned and organized. It's not spur of the moment. These are people who had a very definitive mission. Historically, in the past, when we've seen multiple shooters in incidents, we've seen bank robberies and those sorts of things. That doesn't appear to be the case here. So police are going to be concerned, federal authorities, they're going to look at terrorism first because that's where you default to, unfortunately, in this day and age, and then they'll work with the intelligence and back away from that as this gets teased out, Lester.
All right, Sean, and again, if you're just joining us, you're hearing words like terrorism, things like that. We don't know. And, you know, it's not something we like to have to say in this business, but we don't know right now exactly what's going on here. Any number of possibilities. The report, 1 to perhaps 3 shooters. Police right now trying to secure this facility where it happened. The reports, or someone came in, I think CNBC had interviewed a police spokesman, said gunmen, more than one gunman burst into a room and began firing. That, according to a police spokesperson. We don't know if they are still inside. There was a report going out on the police radios to be on the lookout for a dark-colored SUV that may be related to this. You may have heard a moment ago about a separate situation going on in Pasadena. We can now tell you that is not related to what's happening in San Bernardino. We're trying to wait for information as it comes in. We are told there may be a police briefing very soon, so you'll want to stay with us for that, and perhaps we'll get some of these questions cleared up as to exactly what happened. And I think it's a fair question for anyone in that area to ask, is this over? Are there individuals on the loose? Are people in danger elsewhere as a result of what happened here? And I think that's an urgent question that people rightfully will want to know an answer to, and hopefully we will get it. Because of the operation to secure this center, we haven't learned a lot about the number of casualties. Their first order of business, as was explained to us, was to get in, secure these rooms, secure any potential devices that may have been left behind by the perpetrators, and perhaps find the suspects themselves if they are still on the property there. A number of people were let out safely from these buildings. They were evacuated. There didn't appear to be a panic. They had their hands up. They moved out as requested by police. It appears to be a textbook triage setup was put in place there to deal with the injured and get them to the appropriate hospitals and the appropriate treatment. We talked to the folks at Loma Linda Medical Center. They have received 4 adult patients, 3 more. The spokesman unable to tell me if all those were gunshot wounds. It's probably not out of the question that some people were simply hurt in a panic to get out, but we'll find out. We'll get those numbers when we can. This happened, as we said, about 11 o'clock in the morning. There was a report at one point, as we said, of a vehicle that might be connected to this. We've heard no further information on that, or a description of the gunmen or gunmen beyond at least one was wearing tactical gear. And as was pointed out, that could be anything from a load-bearing vest that might be used to carry weapons, magazines, body armor, something of that order. People, of course, trying to provide what information they can to authorities under these circumstances, but keeping in mind that in many cases they were running for their lives. They may have been wounded themselves, and certainly at that point all they want to do is be in a safe locale. And here are some of the people that were brought out earlier, and And we saw school buses brought in, and perhaps they'll be moving them from the area. They are discouraging people from coming down, trying to check on loved ones for obvious reasons that the area needs to be secured. And they just want to get as many people to safety as they can while they try and figure out exactly what it is that they're watching here. We had reported earlier that the president has been notified by Homeland Security officials, so he is aware of what's transpiring here in California, and House leadership has as well. Everyone waiting to find out exactly what has been triggered into motion here, what the nature of this crime is or was, the motivation, who may be involved. So many questions, and we're all eagerly waiting for answers. This is an area along Waterman Road, we believe, in San Bernardino. San Bernardino is east of Los Angeles, a rather large city, kind of there in the central area of Southern California. Tom Costello has been gathering information for us from his perch in Washington. What do you have, Tom?
Well, the latest information we really have from federal authorities, as you would expect, they are really giving the lead on this to the authorities there on the ground, to the local authorities in San Bernardino. But the FBI field director or assistant director in L.A., we are told, is already on the scene. ATF also assisting. And they put out this be on the lookout alert recently, looking for a black SUV, possibly a Yukon. That coming from federal authorities confirming that so-called Bolo, be on the lookout, went out in the local area as well. The very first thing, of course, on the federal level that they worry about is whether this is in any way tied to terrorism. And we simply don't know whether that's the situation or whether we are dealing with a lone gunman. But I would also remind us, all of us, that it was, of course, just before Thanksgiving that federal authorities advised police departments across the country just be aware of what is developing in Europe. At the time, of course, in response to the attacks in Paris and the manhunt in Brussels, only insofar as advising police departments to essentially be on your guard, be on the lookout, and be aware. They stressed there was no information that would suggest that we are looking at any sort of a terrorism attack in the United States. That was literally last week in the days running up to Thanksgiving. So now we have this situation developing in California. We don't know, I stress that, we don't know if there's a terrorism nexus, but clearly we're looking at yet another mass casualty situation on the ground with local police scrambling to find the shooter or shooters, and federal authorities also asking the question that at the moment it does not appear anybody has the answer to, and that is this terrorism or terror related, or is this the work of a mass shooter, a gunman on the ground who is pursuing his own agenda for whatever reason?
All right, Tom, we may get some answers here. We're told the police will be holding a news conference there near the scene in about 10 minutes is the scheduled start time. We'll, of course, have that for you when it begins. Let's go to Ron Allen right now. He's at the White House. Ron, we had noted the president has been notified. Have we heard from him yet?
Yes, we have, Lester. He happened to be doing an interview with our colleagues at CBS News as the events were unfolding. He said that still a lot not known, the situation very fluid, but here's more of what the president just said.
My hope is that we're able to contain this particular shooting, and we don't yet know what the motives of the shooters are. But what we do know is that there are steps we can take to make Americans safer, and that we should come together in a bipartisan basis at every level of government to make these rare as opposed to normal. We should never think that this is something that just happens in the ordinary course of events, because it doesn't happen with the same frequency in other countries.
The president there sounding like this was a shooting incident, a mass shooting incident, not necessarily a terrorism incident, but again, we don't know the detail of that as of yet. The president's still waiting for word about what happens as these events continue to unfold. We know that the president has been very, very concerned about this issue, speaking out on it as recently as yesterday in Paris at that climate summit, where he made the comparison to the enormous effort that this country makes to stop terrorism and the carnage that causes. Yet at the same time, he says that we do less and certainly should do more, he says, to stop these kinds of mass shootings. We know that the president and his team here at the White House have been looking through various executive actions that he might take, administrative actions that he might take in the interest of gun safety. But at this point, the last guidance from the White House, I believe, was that there's nothing imminent on that front. But again, this may drive that conversation. The president hoping that this will spark more conversation and mostly some action to try and stop this carnage in the United States.
All right, Ron, we're still trying to get a handle on casualties here. We know that Loma Linda Medical Center had received 4 adults, was expecting 3 more. I'm seeing here that another hospital, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, was treating 6 patients. So that's what we have right now, just anecdotally from 2 of what could be several hospitals treating patients from this scene. These buses have been brought in the last 20 minutes or so, and we believe they are going to be used to take away those who had been evacuated out of these buildings in the middle of this. Let's go back to Tom Costello. Tom?
Well, all I can add to that is essentially picking up on the president's comments, and that is that they continue to await information from the authorities in Los Angeles, and the resources of the FBI and the ATF and any other agency that might be able to contribute are, of course, being deployed and fully utilized at this point. I did want to make one correction to my earlier comments regarding the first, if you will, or one of the most recent first mass shootings, which was actually 18 years ago yesterday, not today. That was in Paducah, Kentucky. So that's when a young man killed 3 students and injured 5. It occurred 18 years ago yesterday, not today, but he is in prison. And also, these numbers from the Centers for Disease Control really put this into perspective. The number of violent gun deaths between 2005 and 2013, according to the CDC, 279,000 in the United States, 279,000, and in the United States so far this year, 375 victims of gun violence in terms of mass shootings. That puts it into context, the total numbers of individuals that we're looking at right now, Lester.
All right, Tom, this is taking place at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino. We have on the phone with us now Patrick Simpson. His daughter is an intern at that facility. And Patrick, we understand that she is still hidden inside and is texting you. And before we continue with this conversation, we don't want to do anything that puts her in jeopardy. But can you characterize what you're hearing from your daughter, and is she okay?
She seems to be okay. She hasn't texted within probably the last maybe 15, 20 minutes. I talked to her on the phone about an hour, maybe an hour and a half ago. She was, when I called her, of course, when I got her text and I heard what was going on, I called her and she grabbed the phone and she was whispering and said that she was in a room with 9 other people and she was at the building where this all happened, and they moved them into a safe room, I guess. And then after that, I got a text that they moved her to another building. I don't know what the facility is like, but they moved her to another building, and her car was at the location where everything happened. So
when you say they moved her, the police have now reached her in that group and moved them to another building? Okay,
yes,
so they're safe.
Have reached her, and I guess she is safe. She's scared. She texted me she was there and on lockdown. They can't leave. They're basically stuck at the building.
But she's okay.
Scary. Yeah, she is just very shaken up.
That's great to hear. Can you tell us what she heard? Did she characterize what she saw or heard during all this?
She had gone to the specific building where the shooting was actually happening to drop off some papers or pick up some papers. I wasn't clear on exactly what happened. And I guess she had just gotten there as everything had just happened. So thankfully she was not right smack in the middle of it. But the minute she walked in, they grabbed everybody and moved them to another room when everything was happening. And I guess she told me it was 3 men in masks, and they were in the building, and they couldn't find them. And so that's when I had talked to her, and she was kind of whispering. She couldn't really speak because they hadn't put her in an actual safe room yet.
Now, this is important. 3 men in masks. Did she see them, or that was the word that was being filtered to those in the building?
That was the word that she was being filtered, I guess, from the people in the room that she was in with.
Well, I can't think of anything more painful than a to be a parent in a situation like that. Did you hear from her first, or did you hear about this news and then reach out to her?
No, I heard about it on the news, and then I saw it. Someone sent me a link or something that was going on, and I'm like, oh, well, I know she's a college student and she's an intern, and I know she interns at that facility, but I didn't know it was the actual building, so I was just freaked out. And then she texted me, and then when I did talk to her for like just a minute, I'm like, send me a picture. Just take a picture of you so I could see that you are okay and send it to me. She goes, and she did. I'm like, thank God she sent me, just so I wanted to see for my own eyes.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
It's so scary.
And how does she sound?
She sounds very scared, but she sounds good. But it's very hard, and for me and for her to deal with, because she's there as a social worker to help people, and for this to come and happen at a place where you're there to help people, it's just, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
As you noted, she had the word being filtered among those who are rescued with her is that it's 3 men in masks. Have they heard anything in terms of the number of people who might have been hit?
She told me she thought 12 people were killed, and I didn't know, and I have not seen it, so I've been just kind of texting her back and forth. That's what she had told me, and I don't know where she's getting that information from. But you know, my whole thing was, "Are you okay? Everything okay with you?" And you know, and she texted me a little bit ago. They're still in lockdown.
All right. Well, listen, Patrick, I'm glad she and the group she was with are safe for now. Sounds like the police have them in a safe position. My heart goes out to you and your daughter, but I'm glad she's fine. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank
you.
All
right. And again, we put in perspective the information that Patrick is sharing there. Hearing from his daughter, who is among those who took shelter in place, has apparently been moved to another building. She heard apparently the word there among people rescued that it was 3 men in masks. She also apparently heard, again, from being in there, is that as many as 12 people killed, but we cannot confirm that. And I just share that to put it in perspective from that interview, that that's unverified information, but that's at least the word that these individuals who are safely now secure in buildings on that in that office park there have heard. Let's go back to Miguel Almaguer right now. He is still on phone, I believe, but he is at the scene there in San Bernardino. What can you tell us?
Lester, still a very, very active crime scene. We've seen police officers continue to pour into this area, lights and sirens on. As I mentioned the last time we spoke just a few minutes ago, we saw members of the bomb squad still pouring into this area. Still several police helicopters flying over scene. The crowd here is growing larger, most likely anxious family members and friends of folks who may have worked inside that building, gathering here looking for any bits of information. In just a few minutes, we're expecting a press briefing from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office. We hope to then learn some more information and fill in some of the blank spaces here, Lester.
All right, thanks very much. Yeah, that news conference scheduled to get underway right away. Let's go back to Sean Henry, formerly with the FBI, who's joining us here in New York. Sean, we were talking to that father. His daughter has been moved from one building to the next. Describe to me, if you can, this process of trying to secure a facility of that size.
Well, I think there's 2 points here, Lester. One is you want to make sure that everybody is safe, and you want to make sure there's not any active threat. So by going room to room, doing a very methodical search that's slow, it's very tedious. That's got to be done. And then the second piece, of course, is when you've got everybody secured, you've got the victims that appear to be safe, you want to collect intelligence. You want to start learning what they saw, what they heard. You want to start looking at videotapes that might be in the buildings or out on the street in surrounding buildings, because you've got to start piecing this together so you can identify who these people are. Law enforcement's top priority is going to be stopping these people from any other attacks where they might hurt American citizens, Lester.
And I'm sure those people right now who are sheltered in place, all they want to do is be taken to safety. But as you said, this sense of a threat may still be out there. You know, in speaking to the SWAT leader who ended the siege at the Bataclan in Paris, he described, you know, coming in and people, you know, clamoring for help and having to just, you know, kind of bluntly explain to them, I've got to deal with the fact that there's maybe shooters still on the scene here before I can deal with you. And that, I guess, is part of really the grim reality of what they have to do. It's the safety going forward.
That's absolutely right. I mean, the safety of victims and trying to eliminate the threat, ensure that there's nobody else there that's posing danger to the victims as well as to the first responders, Lester.
Yeah, she, again, that interview, and you know, I want to keep stressing that, you know, only so much of what we have is verified, but we heard the Patrick Simpson, whose daughter is one of those right now in a room there, hearing that there were 3 masked men that were involved in this shooting. When you hear that number 3, as we noted before, it takes it certainly out of the norm of many of the domestic shootings we have heard about. And let's be really brutally honest here. We all know that terrorism is hovering in the back of our minds, and it's hard for us to say those words out loud sometimes. But when you hear 3 individuals, does that stand up federal law enforcement in a different kind of a way, a different posture as they watch this play out?
Yeah, we've certainly noted earlier that this is way too early to make that type of determination, but I can tell you that's exactly what they're thinking. State, local, federal authorities, that's what they're thinking, particularly when you see multiple shooters. In the past, when we've seen people who've been ill, mentally ill, or disgruntled employees, again, you're talking about, usually one person, and multiple shooters is going to change the tone. What's important right now is to do it as quick as an identification as you can to try and locate these people so you can mitigate the threat going forward, Lester.
And then you think to yourself, why a developmental disabilities facility? No matter what the motivation ultimately may be, why a place like that? When you look at terror, we often think of protecting landmarks, places that we know a lot of people gather. When you look at this as a potential target, does anything come to mind?
Oh, when you think about an active shooter, when you think about terrorism, when you're trying to put fear in the hearts of people, it's about getting to them where they're most vulnerable. What we saw in Paris was restaurants and sporting event at a concert area where people are out to relax and be entertained. And that's the areas they specifically chose. An area like this for people who are disabled, obviously not very clear until we start to put the pieces of this together, but that's an area that's not going to be protected. You do have lots of people who are congregating there at that time of the day. They're in a vulnerable position.
Yeah, understood. And again, we bring this up. We hate to get into the world of speculation, but at the same time, we recognize that people really need to know, does this danger exist beyond what we're looking at right here? And we're hopefully going to get those answers at a news conference that should be starting any time. But I want to go right now to Sally Abdo-McGee on the phone. Sally worked in the building. Can you tell us where you were during the shooting, Sally, and what you saw and heard? Apparently we have lost her. We'll try to get her back and get her account of what she may have seen or heard. But again, as we noted from our conversation there a moment ago, all these things have to be considered and looked at. Was this someone disgruntled? Was this someone with a greater agenda? And we hope to get those answers. Let's go to Tom Costello now. Tom.
Well, Lester, just to put a little bit more light on this confusion as to whether there is more than one suspect, I can tell you I was listening to the San Bernardino radio traffic, the Sheriff's Department responding immediately. And very early on, the initial officers on the scene said that they had reports of 3 suspects. Probably that information coming from the people who were inside this facility reporting as many as 3 suspects. So when you ask, well, how do we have a discrepancy, or how do we not know how many suspects? From the very earliest calls on this, the radio traffic with the officers on the scene said that they may have as many as 3 suspects. And then the BOLO going out, the alert for all of Southern California law enforcement to be on the lookout for this black SUV, and what federal law enforcement agencies are telling us may be a Yukon of some sort, or that type of a vehicle, has been, according to federal law enforcement sources, really the focus and the center of the investigation as they try to identify who may be responsible for this. But yes, in these instances, mass casualty instances, there's very often so much confusion in the first early moments and hours of an incident, and that is why, from the very earliest moments of this call, the officers on the scene scene. We're being told there may be as many as 3 suspects who are on the loose right now.
Yeah, and that certainly jives with what we're hearing from one person who was in the building, who is in a safe place right now. Her father said that she believed she had heard that there were 3 masked men. I will also point out, though, we were sitting here last week covering the shooting in Colorado Springs, and there was very similar scanner traffic reporting there might be a second shooter on the roof, and in that case it was 1. But as we all know, as we go through these things, information changes. Police can only act on what they have at that moment.
That's right.
And they have to consider the worst case, which is why what we're waiting for is taking so long, this race to secure the building. That father I was speaking to, his daughter was in the building where it took place, was moved to a room. At some point, police then took them and moved them to another room in another building. But that indicates there are still people there who have not been evacuated. They are essentially sheltering in place. So imagine the job now of police trying to make sure that they've got they've covered the idea of more suspects, but certainly wanting to protect people who are sheltering right now. Let's go to KNBC now, and they're reporting on something happening at the schools there.
Not that far. Tippecanoe is just to the west of it. I'm going to pull out here without trying to show the scene. They're still really strict on us showing the scene, but right there to the top of your screen, right there, I don't want to show it too much, that's where this scene is, and that's how close the school is. I would say it's approximately less than 1 mile, so no doubt they're definitely concerned about the children and the staff at this school. That's why they put it on lockdown, and there is a lot of law enforcement personnel. You can see this is the intersection right here at Tippecanoe and Central Avenue. They have law enforcement personnel at the intersection, only letting parents in, making sure that these children are not released and walking away on their own.
And we want to remind people, to the best of our knowledge, the shooter or shooters here, anywhere from 1 to 3 is the number we are hearing, are still out there, still unaccounted for. We're waiting for a press conference from the San Bernardino Police Department. That should start momentarily, and we will certainly.
We dipped into KNBC there as they were pointing out that this school is on a lockdown. There's nothing happening there that we're aware of, but it is in the same area, and with the possibility the shooter or shooters are still out, it certainly makes perfectly good sense that they are in a lockdown situation at that school right now. Police dealing with every eventuality, every possibility, every scenario here as they try and secure this area. They've got hundreds of people who were apparently inside that building. Many have been evacuated. They've got people coming to check on loved ones. They've got, of course, the media, law enforcement in a situation that may still be evolving, that may still have an imminent danger. The news conference is going to begin. Let's take you there.
Phone number in the event that you have information for investigative leads. The number that will be manned by the Sheriff's Department will be 1-866-346-7632. You can also call 1-800-78-CRIME if you wish to remain anonymous. I'll make a couple of quick introductions. We have San Bernardino Police Department standing here to my right, Sheriff John McMahon to my left here, and the Assistant Director in charge of the LA Office of FBI, David Bowditch. David Dick. With that, I will hand it over to Chief Burgoyne.
Afternoon, everybody. So this originally started off at 11 o'clock this morning, late this morning, early afternoon. We received a call here at the Inland Regional Center, 1400 block of South Waterman, of a shooting. It was quickly apparent that we had what amounted to an active shooter situation. There was a massive law enforcement response that initially was officers from our department that responded, and then very quickly, as the word spread through the region, we had a massive mutual aid response from virtually every law enforcement agency in the immediate area, to include the Sheriff's Department, Colton Police Department, Fontana Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, Probation Department, Parole. A number of agencies responded. What we have so far is information that up to 3 people had entered the building and had opened fire on people inside of the building. We do have some preliminary numbers of upwards of 14 people that are dead and upwards of 14 people that are injured. We think those are pretty reliable, but keep in mind those are potentially subject to change. They are preliminary numbers. The 14 that are wounded have been taken to various area hospitals. In addition to the law enforcement response, there was a massive medical aid response from San Diego City Fire Department, other area fire departments, as well as the ambulance, American Medical Response. As officers initially arrived on scene, they went into the active shooter protocols, the things that we trained for. They immediately entered the building in search of the suspects. Initial information is that the suspects were potentially still inside of the building. It is a massive facility, employs several hundred people, and it's taken a long time to clear the building. In fact, I think we still have assets inside that are completing that clearing process. Information that I think is probably the most reliable at this point is that the suspects have fled, potentially in a dark-colored SUV. We do not have any identification on who those suspects are. We do not know what the motive is for the shooting at this point. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the sheriff for a couple of comments.
Thank you, Chief. We're working closely with the San Bernardino Police Department in a unified command, as well as our federal partners, to make sure that we have the resources we need to thoroughly investigate this event. Our officers are working hand in hand with members of the San Bernardino Police Department, as well as the other agencies, to search the building as the Chief indicated. That search is still ongoing. We have also, because of the information that the suspects may have fled the area, we have also shut down and locked down the courts and the local city and county buildings in the general area around San Bernardino. We have an increased law enforcement presence at all the high-profile areas, including hospitals. We've been in contact with the school district and their school police chief to take care of the school side of things. We continue to make sure that we do everything we can to keep the public safe. We've been in contact with the Board of Supervisors. They've pledged their full support and the resources that they have to help solve this as well. We will work together to investigate this case once the scene is secure and work hand in hand with the city of San Bernardino as we do in other high-profile events. I'll now have Dave Bowditch, Assistant Director of the FBI, say a few words.
Thank you, Sheriff. The FBI is here with our state and local partners, as well as our partners from the ATF, and we are here to essentially assure that all the wounded are extracted, and ultimately public safety is the #1 goal at this point. And we will work as a law enforcement community to assure that we have done everything we can in our power to find, locate, and apprehend these subjects. At this point, I know one of your questions is going to be, is this a terrorist incident? I will tell you right now, we do not know if this is a terrorist incident. So we start from the beginning, working with all our local partners. We take the presumption that it may be, it may not be, but we will work hand in hand with them from the beginning. If things change, we are here from the get-go, and there is no steps lost as the investigation proceeds. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to the Chief.
So very quickly, after the initial response, we have several hundred people that were in the building that are not injured. Those people have been taken to a safe location, and they are part of the investigation. In addition to that, we know that this is a human incident, and this is a tragedy. And we know we've got a lot of folks out there that are very concerned and very worried about their loved ones that may have been at that facility today. We've set up an area at the Hernandez Center at the corner of 3rd and Sierra Way here in the city of San Bernardino for family members to go for information. We will push information out to that for those family members as we can. Also, the Sheriff's Department put out the crime tip hotline number. If anybody has any information, we'd very much like to hear from you. So with that, I will take a couple of questions. Start with Rob. I don't. I've heard everything that it was a meeting to a potential like a lunch type gathering, maybe for the holidays. That's not confirmed. That is very preliminary. It's my understanding that most of the people that were wounded, most of the victims, were all centrally located in one area of the facility.
Were they government employees or city employees?
In terms of the employees, it's my understanding this facility has both state and county employees, as well as folks that work for a number of organizations. The Inland Regional Center serves a number of organizations that treat mental illness type issues and that sort of stuff. I don't have any idea. I know that state and local county employees work there. I do not know if any of them are the victims or who they are at this point.
Chief, can you tell us what type of weapons?
I do not have any information that any children were involved.
Chief, question on the weapons used and the number of people involved here. Given what you have in the way of evidence, witness accounts, and everything else, would you characterize this as an organized event? What were these men using and shooting at people with?
Preliminary information indicates that these are people that came prepared, that they were dressed and equipped in a way to indicate that they were prepared, and they were armed with long guns, not handguns. I do not know what type of long guns.
Rifles?
I don't know.
Have any of those weapons been recovered here at the scene?
We do not have any weapons recovered at this point.
Chief, could you move to the left just a little bit? There's a shadow. Thank you.
Sorry.
Chief, can I ask for clarification? You said upwards of 14 dead. What does upwards mean?
The preliminary number we have right now is that there are 14 people that are deceased, and our count is another 14 people that have been taken to various hospitals for significant injuries potentially related to gunshots. We also have a number of other people that may have had some minor types of injuries. They fell down in the course of fleeing or something of that nature, but roughly about 14 that we believe are wounded.
Chief, are there any security cameras inside the building where we might give you video evidence of what happened?
I would imagine there are, but we're not that far into the investigation yet.
Chief, we're live on KTLA. Would you mind repeating the nuts and bolts again? We're live on the air right now.
The whole thing, I think, let's take...
Don't worry about it.
That the building is still being searched. Is there the possibility that there are more deceased or wounded inside of that regional center?
I think that could be a possibility, yes. I don't think we're comfortable saying no at this point.
Have the bomb technicians recovered anything which is or looked like an IED inside the building?
As the teams were going through and searching for the suspects and searching for victims, there were some things in the building that were not immediately identifiable that caused them some concern. As a result of that, we do have some bomb techs that are on site that are checking some of that out. I do not know if they were brought in by the suspects. We do not know if they are bombs of any sort, just simply things that as our teams were moving through said that needs to be looked at a little bit more closely.
No render safes at this point. They haven't taken anything apart and destroyed anything.
I don't have any information on that, no.
Have you found any vehicles Have you found any vehicles that you believe are related to this event or left anywhere nearby?
Not that I know of at this point.
Have witnesses said the gunman said anything? Did they say anything?
We don't have anything specific from those witnesses. We're in the early stages of talking to them.
What about any other active scenes at this point?
This is the only active scene that we're working.
What about security tape that may have been shot inside?
That is part of the investigation. I just don't have that at this point.
Can you talk about the suspect's vehicle, that darker SUV?
That's all we have. Very, very generic. Upwards of 3 suspects. Darker SUV that fled.
Suspects wearing camouflage?
I've never heard camouflaged.
What were they wearing?
Just to be clear, upwards of 3. Does that mean there could be more?
I have repeatedly been told the number is 3. But keep in mind that this is information that is flowing in as people are talking to witnesses very quickly. As we put everything together, some of this may change. We know these are fluid situations, and some of the information we put out now may change a little bit in the future.
Is there any description about these guys? Any description about these suspects?
As far as people in the area, we're doing everything we can to keep this area safe. We are addressing other facilities in the area that we think may be similar or may be similar, but we don't have any information or any credible threats to any other facilities at this point. But obviously we're all on a heightened sense of alert. We would ask the public that they be on a heightened sense of alert, that they're watching out for those things, and if they come across information, contact us and let us investigate it. I put out what I have. Just 3. We don't. One report I heard is masks were involved, but I don't know that to be definitive at this point.
How many active leads you're pursuing for them right now?
Yes.
Chief,
not going to talk about it.
Did the gunman say anything at all during the attack, during the shootings?
Not that I'm aware of.
Any sort of threats made prior to this incident?
I don't. That's part of the investigation. We're not going to talk specifically about that right now.
Hey, Chief, I'm not a media person, but I'm a United States veteran, and I just want to say thank you to the fellow agencies, all the chiefs, all the fire chiefs, and everything for your guys' response. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Do you know a Spanish-speaking PIO?
A few minutes.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Spanish?
Tell her yes.
Yes?
I won't have to. They'll be really impressed.
All right.
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All
Well, our people in the field go into the field with what they have. We have a number of officers that have high caliber weapons. They carry assault rifles with them. Most of the officers carry handguns. The officers that arrived on scene and did the initial work to go into that building and clear it went in with what they had. So we do not know where the suspects are.
Do you know how the FBI, how is the FBI getting involved in this? And if there's somebody, a representative, maybe they want to talk in detail.
Well, we know historically that some of these investigations can turn into a potential federal prosecution type thing. At this point, we don't know that to be the case, but it's better to have them on scene from the very beginning so they know what we know and they are an active part of the investigation. In addition to that, being from the federal government, they bring to the table tremendous resources to help us in doing our job.
When it comes to terrorism, can you talk about that?
We have no information at this point to indicate that this is terrorist related in the traditional sense that people may be thinking. Obviously, at minimum, we have a domestic terrorist type situation that occurred here.
Any description at all? White, black?
We don't.
Any sense that they had training, that they might have been themselves, that they had some training, that they...
The only thing I'm comfortable saying at this point is that the information we have is that they came prepared to do what they did as if they were on a mission.
How long were they inside shooting?
I don't know specifically. Several minutes.
Were the gunmen still there when the police arrived, when the initial responding officers arrived?
Well, we don't know. We did not. Our police officers have not engaged or exchanged gunfire with anybody, but we don't know if they were on scene when we arrived.
Chief, I don't know if you still covered this or not, but were the vast majority of the dead and wounded in one centralized location within the facility?
Yes, in the same general area of the facility.
Are we making an assumption, and I'm sorry if it's an assumption here, Chief, that they had targeted that particular room, those particular people?
I think we're a little too early in the investigation to even make that assumption. We don't know what the motive is at this point.
Hostages at any time? Were people tied up? Were they held in a room and told to resist a shootout?
We don't have any information that they took any hostages.
What kinds of weapons do you use? Could you describe what kinds of weapons they used? I'm sorry.
Long guns is what I've been told. I think there's people that speculate what type of long guns those are, but I don't want to put out a specific type of gun. I'm just going to say it was a long gun, not a handgun.
Rifle or shotgun?
They came in with a purpose. They came in with the intent to do something.
Was there any threat made to this facility prior to this incident?
I don't have specifics on that. So with that, we're gonna cut this off. We will be back every hour on the hour to provide an update. Even if we don't have anything specifically, we will come back to you every hour on the hour, at least for the next several hours, to provide an update.
At the top of the hour.
At the top of the hour is fine.
Thank you, Chief.
Jared Burguan, B-U-R-G-U-A-N. Thank you.
We've been listening to Jared Burguan. He's the police chief in San Bernardino, California, updating us with what they know. And the headline here, up to 14 dead, 14 people injured in that facility that in San Bernardino today. Up to 3 shooters who are presumed to have fled. SWAT teams are still going to the building, but at this point, they presume they have fled. Kind of a chilling remark there at the end. He says they came prepared as if they were on a mission. The FBI saying they do not know if this is terrorism. The chief noting that ultimately it is, and whether it's the kind we tend to think of or domestic terrorism, certainly a horrible loss of life here. The suspects could have gotten away in a SUV. They have put a lookout for a dark-colored SUV. These men apparently marched into some kind of a meeting of some kind that was going on. He wasn't sure if perhaps it was some kind of a holiday get-together, what have you. But all of the victims were shot in a central part of one of the buildings on this facility, the Inwood Regional Center. It's part of the Developmental Disability Center. It's government workers, state and county workers. As a result of this, there have been security precautions taken in other government buildings in the area, as well as hospitals. The area is still very much on high alert because of the many unknowns on this attack. There's a live view just off. This is another building just, I believe, to the left of the facility where this took place. In fact, as the camera widens out, well, I'm not quite sure where it is, but I believe it's just above it there. Just above it, apparently, is the facility where this took place. Let's go to Tom Costello watching along with us. Tom, what do you have?
Well, I think yet again, Lester, this country is dealing with mass murder. At least 14 people dead, he said, or up to 14 dead is what his exact words were, 14 injured. And his point was, at a minimum, this is a domestic terror. So this is terrorism in some fashion. What we don't know is whether there is a nexus to foreign players in any way. Are foreign actors in any way involved in this, or is a foreign state or a foreign terrorist organization involved? We simply don't know. Also interesting that he reiterated that point from the very earliest calls to police. There were witnesses who said that there may be as many as 3 individuals who are involved in this mass shooting, and the police chief saying still now at, what is it now? It's 1:30 or so on the West Coast, rather. They are still going at 2:30 on the West Coast, pardon me. They're going on the assumption they still have 3 suspects on the loose. So nearly 3 hours after this incident first went down, they are still going on the assumption of nearly 3 different suspects on the loose. The FAA has put flight restrictions in place over this particular area as they try to work their police choppers to look for the suspect and also ask the media to back off and give them as much space as possible. And I think it's also important to take note that they are still trying to answer the question of who was involved and is there more than one vehicle. As we've been reporting, they have been looking for one vehicle, that black SUV described by some as a possible Yukon, seen leaving the area at a high rate of speed, possibly with 1 or as many as 3 suspects involved. This is an unusual situation, at least in my experience, and unfortunately covering quite a few mass casualty and mass shooting incidents. Unusual in that 3 hours later, we are still looking for the perpetrators, and that there may be as many as 3 on the loose. This will go down as an unusual situation here, Lester.
And, Tom, something that may have slipped by very quickly in that news conference, one of the reporters asked the chief, are you pursuing any active leads? And he kind of paused and said yes, and I don't want to go any further than that. So perhaps a hint that they at least have something to go on in the search. But what we heard, certainly not comforting from the standpoint of I think the takeaway, not only the horrible loss of life and injured here, Tom, is that this is still ongoing, that there is still a clear and present danger. Schools are on lockdown, government buildings are being protected, hospitals are being protected. 3 people who the chief says came prepared as if they were on a mission are still on the loose.
A mass killer or mass killers are on the loose. That is a terrifying statement, but it is from the mouth of the police chief in San Bernardino, California. They are looking for, right now, whoever is responsible for this, whoever gunned down, we believe, up to 28 people, with 14 dead at this hour. All right. Tom, thanks very much. You're watching continuing coverage on NBC News of the mass shooting in San Bernardino, California. Some stations are going to return to regular programming. For others, NBC News coverage continues in just a second. And there's a scene live over San Bernardino, California. We continue to cover the mass shooting there today, and we learned within the last few minutes that 14 people are dead, 14 injured, and the police are on the lookout for up to 3 suspects who burst into one of the buildings at the Inwood Regional Center, a state and county facility, and opened fire in the central part of one of the buildings. 3 suspects who they believe may have fled in a dark-colored SUV. There is no identification on the shooters. There is no motive. Federal officials and FBI representative on the scene said, obviously, everyone wants to know, is this terrorism? And he simply said, I don't know. The police chief saying the shooters came prepared is as if they were on a mission. Some reports that they were wearing masks. The police chief acknowledged that, but couldn't say for sure, and was not able to say whether the suspect said anything as to whether they have active leads they are pursuing. The chief said yes. In terms of a possible motive, again, that remains a huge mystery here. The police still going through the building, trying to make sure that everything is secured, secondary searches, but again, their belief is that the shooters, in this case, may have gotten away. And for that reason, and because of the lack of specificity as to what the motive might have been, they have locked down schools. They have put up extra security in front of hospitals, in front of other government buildings in the area. This regional
Center is part of the Department of Disabilities and Developmental Disabilities. There are some clients who come there. There are apparently state workers and county workers. Several hundred people work there. The vast majority of them we saw play out earlier were actually evacuated safely onto a golf course and eventually away from the area. But again, we know up to 14 dead and 14 injured. Some of those injured were whisked to safety in civilian vehicles. They were taken out away from the scene of the shooting. They were triaged right there in the street and loaded onto ambulance as quickly as they could get them to the proper facilities for treatment. We don't have conditions on those who were treated. We talked to folks at the Loma Linda Medical Center. At one point, they had received 4 adults. They were expecting 3 more, but they were not able to provide an update on the conditions. And as far as the police chief was able to say, there are no children among those who were injured or killed. Let's listen in now to the coverage on KNBC, our station in Los Angeles.
Heard earlier that the CEO of the regional center said that her understanding was that the gunman targeted a conference area where there were a number of employees. That was not confirmed by the police chief, but that is something that she had reported, that her understanding was it was sort of a conference area with adult employees.
There's also been the suggestion that this is a large facility and some of these rooms, in fact, are leased out or rented out to particular groups. There may or may not have been a job fair out there today. But again, the numbers, 14 people dead. We're not getting any descriptions or any names on who they might be, other than the fact that they are not children. At least 14 people hurt. 4 patients already at Loma Linda. Patrick Healy said he saw the chopper coming and going there. They were expecting at least 3 more trauma patients.
And we know Lake Arrowhead Regional also taking some patients there. It's been a very fluid situation, as we have seen throughout the morning some patients being triaged in front of the regional center and then transported to the hospital. The chief mentioned that some obviously suffered very severe injuries. Others were injured in the rush to get out of that building. And Alex Vasquez, our NBC4 photographer, told us that at least 6 people were piled in to a pickup truck. In fact, this is a shot of that pickup truck right after the shooting started. These 6 victims were simply put in the back and shuttled to safety because the first responders hadn't yet made it to the scene. That's how quickly this all unfolded this morning. Just after 11:04, the first reports of shots fired coming in.
You know, we
I haven't been able to
also heard
contact
from
my
other
boyfriend.
people. Let's listen
He's in there, him and his brother. If you see this, Brian, call me. Let me know that you and your brother are okay, so I could give word back to the family. Everybody's worried about you guys out there. I don't know exactly.
But at the moment,
So difficult, you know, waiting word from loved ones. Some families were luckier than others in being able to receive text messages from those trapped inside. People were able to get outside and make it to safety, but still a number of people trying to reunite with their relatives.
You know, with all that has happened in the world, a lot of people jump to the conclusion or want to know immediately if this was in fact a terrorist act committed by one of the overseas groups. As we heard from the chief, they have not made that connection, but this is some sort of domestic terrorism. You know, we saw the shooting in Colorado last week, Colorado Springs at the Planned Parenthood. We saw what happened in Oregon at the college a couple of months ago. It really does change the way we view the world and how we live our lives on a daily basis. You know, the other thing that struck me when I heard the chief speak, he said, you know, we train for active shooters every day. But in your heart of hearts, even though you train for that and you're a police officer, you can't imagine it, I would assume, happening the way it does in your own backyard.
Yes, and unfolding like this with so many casualties. You know, there's a rather controversial mass shooting tracker that's been put together by Reddit that talks about, in the past 336 days, we have now seen 355 mass shootings. And the way they quantify a mass shooting is 4 more people, including the gunman, killed or injured by gunfire. So based on the numbers we have here, this is the 2nd mass shooting of today and bringing us to 355 mass shootings.
We've been listening in on KNBC's coverage of this ongoing breaking situation. 14 dead, 14 injured in the shooting at the Inwood Regional Center, a developmental disability center in San Bernardino, California. You can imagine the horror not only of those who were inside the building when this took place, but also their loved ones and people who knew folks in there when they got word of this. And we heard from some of them just a short time ago.
I'm really scared for my sister.
Did she tell you what happened inside?
She just said there was a shooting. She's scared. She's hiding in the closet.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I have no words to describe it.
Your sister's in there?
Well, she works there. I haven't been able to contact her.
How frightening is this?
A lot.
My daughter's out of the building and she's safe.
You just got the call?
Yeah.
How are you feeling right now?
Relieved, but sad for the others.
She was whispering because she didn't want to be heard. I think she didn't want anyone to hear her if they were outside in the hall. And she didn't want them to open up the doors, and that's why she turned off the lights, or someone turned off the lights in the department, and they locked the door. That's all that I know. It's all that she told me. And then we stopped talking because I didn't want her to talk anymore.
What a helpless feeling to be in contact with your loved ones. You can't get to them, and they're in this desperate situation with a gunman opening fire. All the gunfire apparently in a centralized part of one building in that multiple building complex. Let me bring back in Clint Van Sant, former FBI profiler. Clint, I guess it's natural for us to want to categorize these things, and the fact is 14 people are dead, and no matter what you call it, that reality is inescapable. But when we hear 3 people who, as the police chief said, came prepared as if they were on a mission, and we hear those 3 people are potentially still out there, where does that take you as a former law enforcement officer?
Well, you know, investigators are investigating this right now, Lester, and the media is left to speculate. But as we start to connect these dots from what we've heard from law enforcement in the press conference and the information coming in, as you just said, it appears that all of the shooting took place in the same location in these 3 different buildings that were connected that have about 650 or more employees. We also heard from law enforcement that it may have been in a conference room where there was some type of meeting or luncheon going on. Should those facts prove to be correct, it would sound like the shooter or the shooters went right to that conference room. In essence, they may have targeted somebody in that room or the purpose for that room. That's what investigators, FBI agents, detectives, that's what they're trying to do right now. Find out if that specific group was in fact targeted, because then that gives them a lead. Who would have had some reason, some type of malice to go after, to commit a terrible atrocity like this? And then whether it's an act of international terrorism, domestic terrorism, some frustrated, fired employee, that he or they were able to assemble 3 people, weapons, body armor, and put together this plan. I mean, the chief of police is right. These are at least 1 to 3 people who came in with a purpose, and that purpose was mass murder.
He was unable to say whether the suspects said anything, but given the number of people who were there, he did note that they do have active leads. Is it possible that something was said that might imply a motive that would give them something to follow up on?
I think it's likely if it was anything related to the group or related to the people in the room, and 1 to 3 shooters, someone likely would have said something, or someone in the room might have either recognized a shooter by his face, or if they had mask on, as we're told, maybe recognized the shooter by their build, or something that was said or murmured within that room. Those are things right now that hundreds of law enforcement officers all over that area, California, are trying to identify. If the chief is right, they have leads not only on the vehicle description that Tom Costello told us about that was being put all over the area, but they may have an idea of a suspect or suspects in this case too. They may not want to show their hand, but hopefully there are dozens of law enforcement officers moving in every direction and every lead, while at the same time we're ministering to the injured, we're feeling so bad for the dead, and we're trying to develop further information to help us identify who the shooter was. And again, Lester, as you well know from the reporting that's been done, this is almost 400 people this year that have been killed in America in mass shootings. Whatever type of terrorism we call this is an unacceptable level of violence that this country has got to get a handle on. I don't care what your political affiliation, we have to find a way to stop these copycats, to limit weapons, to deal with mental health situations. This calls for America to come together and not be divided on a situation like this.
If this was, it turns out to be a random target, if this place was hit for no other reason than it had a lot of people in it, as law enforcement, do you have to be concerned about a second attack, a second location that could be targeted?
Well, with the chief telling us that these individuals appear to have come to this location with a purpose, that is probably their ultimate purpose. In essence, they may well be surprised that they were even able to escape the area at this time. And again, as you rightfully said, law enforcement is still searching these 3 massive buildings and the areas around. But right now, I think the biggest challenge is going to be if the shooter or shooters escaped, it's going to be when those law enforcement officers have to confront the shooter and deal with them. This is going to be a tremendous threat to law enforcement, and unfortunately it does continue to be a threat for the public until these shooters are found.
All right, Clint Van Sant, thank you. We'll be checking back with you. We want to go to the scene now. NBC's Miguel Almaguer is there. Describe the scene and what you've learned so far, Miguel.
Lester, still a very active scene. As a matter of fact, just a few minutes ago, we saw more police officers driving down this road. There was also a large bus that looked like it would be transferring folks who are down at the crime scene out of this area in a short time from now. Police helicopters are still overhead. Certainly just a short time ago, we saw bomb squad members coming into this area. It's difficult to hear what is happening behind us because we're somewhat of a distance away, but certainly a very active scene. Police with their rifles, their long guns are out here, as well as several people who are looking for any information about friends or family members that may have been involved in this incident. We also know at nearby hospitals there are several people who are gathering, ambulances rushing in and out of that area. So it does appear as though the numbers here may change. As you know right now, Lester, reports that there are 14 people dead, another 14 injured as police search for 3 suspects in this area, Lester.
Yeah, have you seen any indication of police actually leaving the scene to join the hunt?
No, Lester, we're about 2 blocks away from where the incident actually took place, and from our vantage point here, the roads are blocked off a few blocks in the other direction, but police are continuing to come into this area. We are certain, though, we have heard reports that there is police activity all across this region at this very hour, but here it seems as though investigators are still arriving on scene. We have heard there are over 100 police officers here at this location alone, so we haven't seen many officers scrambling out of this area, but we do know at this hour there is certainly a manhunt going on all across this region.
I'm sure it's very tense there. And lastly, I don't know if from your vantage point, we had seen earlier a lot of people who had been rescued from inside, who had been evacuated. Have they been taken from the area? Any sign of them now?
It appears they have been. There are 3 local hospitals that are relatively close to this area. We know ambulances. We have heard the sirens leaving this area. Some of our other network correspondents and producers across that are fanned out across this region are reporting in that family members are arriving there. They are seeing activity. They are seeing ambulance and police cars arriving at those locations. So this does still seem to be, even though it's been a few hours since this incident, a very fluid situation. As a matter of fact, just behind me now and moving in the direction off screen here, we saw 3 ambulances just pull out of this area. So Lester's still very active here.
Yeah, and we note that the police chief had noted that those casualty figures are what they have now, and they are subject to change. Miguel Almaguer, thanks very much. I want to go into our Los Angeles bureau now. Andrew Blankstein is an NBC News investigative producer. Andrew, I know you've been working the phones and your sources. What are you hearing?
I think one of the key things that I'm hearing, especially as we look across the 5-county area, because we have suspects that are being sought, is the information about who these people are. The question to whether to go public or to keep it close to the vest is always one, a tough call for law enforcement. And as the hours pass, sometimes police hold that back, but you would think you want the public involved to try to get some of these folks, and there just hasn't been a lot of information on that count.
Are you getting any sense that police believe there's a continuing danger here?
I get it from folks that are kind of outside the immediate San Bernardino area. I think there's a need for more information that people want. And as every hour passes, we do get in a situation where people can change vehicles, they can get further away, and that concerns a lot of law enforcement in the area.
And we had heard that this was kind of an all-hands-on-deck response from law enforcement. Is this something that law enforcement in Southern California kind of practices, much like fire agencies do?
There's a practice, and then, there's the practicality. A couple of years ago with the Christopher Dorner case, the ex-LAPD officer who committed 2 murders and then shot law enforcement officers while he was on the run across the area. That was kind of 10 days that kind of gripped the area where law enforcement was actively searching for him. And so it ended up in the shootout in the San Bernardino mountains. And so obviously, as time goes on, they're concerned that where are these suspects? And as you know, early on, there's lots of conflicting information. We saw that in the LAX shooting, also in 2013, where there were initial reports of multiple suspects. It ended up that there was one suspect. So the amount of information, especially now that you throw social media into that, obviously they have to check out leads, but sometimes that might change direction in a way that they don't want.
All right, Andrew Blankstein, thanks very much. We'll be checking back with you. We're rounding the bottom of the hour now, and if you're just joining us and perhaps you've read the tweets or heard news alerts about this and you're just getting settled in, let's just bring you quickly up to speed. About 11 o'clock this morning Pacific time at a regional center for developmental disabilities in California, San Bernardino, California, as many as 3 gunmen burst into a building, into a room, and opened fire. The latest casualty numbers we have, up to 14 dead, at least 14 people injured, being treated at hospitals right now. The 3 gunmen, if it was as many as 3, are presumed to have escaped, although SWAT teams have been securing room by room the rooms in this facility. But again, the shooters presumed to have escaped, possibly in a black SUV that is now the subject of an intense hunt in Southern California. This all taking place about an hour-and-a-half drive east of Los Angeles. The entire region right now on alert. There's the Bolo, be on the lookout alert for that black SUV, and there's a number that authorities have given out for anyone that may have information about these shootings. The police chief in a news conference a while ago acknowledged that they do have active leads in the hunt, and here's what he told us a bit earlier.
We have no information at this point to indicate that this is terrorist related in the traditional sense that people may be thinking. Obviously, at minimum, we have a domestic terrorist type situation that occurred here. They came prepared to do what they did as if they were on a mission.
Gerald Bergeron, the police chief there in San Bernardino, California, and he has been joined by the FBI along with the ATF. The FBI also saying they don't know if this is terrorism in the way that many of us tend to define it, but certainly that is at the top of the investigation as they try to figure out a motive and thereby figure out if there is further danger, an imminent danger from these individuals who may have been a part of this. The early reports were that one of the individuals, or all of them, may have been in body armor or tactical gear, but whatever, as the chief noted, that these were people who were prepared as if they were on a mission. And I think that speaks to the sense that they knew where they were going and what they wanted to do. So these are some of the earlier pictures of the wounded who were being taken out of the line of fire and to a place they could get first aid and then shuttled off to various hospitals. Again, 14 injured. There is no listing of conditions right now, only the number of people, all believed to be adults, who were taken to various hospitals there in Southern California. The region very much on alert in the San Bernardino area. We're told that hospitals, other government buildings, City Hall, courts, that sort of thing, are essentially under lockdown or certainly under heightened security as they try to figure out if there's an ongoing threat and that this, whether this could potentially be government, targeted at government. They simply don't know right now. But a pretty impressive task force of law enforcement now on the scene, trying to figure out who these individuals might have been and what they wanted and what triggered this apparently planned and assault on this facility. This is a place that apparently a lot of state workers. There are a lot of county workers, other agencies under the umbrella of the Developmental Disabilities Board there in California. We're told that sometimes there are clients, people who are afflicted with developmental disabilities can be on site. We don't have a breakdown on who may be among the injured or dead. That, I'm sure, will take some time. We had also heard, even during the height of this, that there were a number of people who were not evacuated, but they were sheltered in other buildings on that complex. Police knew where they were, preferred them to stay there while they continued to work other parts of the facility trying to find the suspects themselves. The sheriff again saying no ID, no motive on the individuals, and we saw one of the local schools nearby that was in lockdown, although we're getting to that time of day the schools would be let out. We're not sure whether that will happen and how long that lockdown situation will continue. But this is some of the crowd, we believe, from the center itself. People who came out may have not have been in the direct area of the shooting, but many of them heard the shots. Not sure, exactly what was going on, what they were hearing, but instructed to get out and escorted across the street to safety. Police in police vehicles, helicopters responding. They've asked news media and other helicopters to leave the area as they continue to do their work and protecting their tactical movements as they go through that building. They're still largely acting as if there is a threat, but it seemed clear from the news conference that they believe the shooter or shooters were able to escape. As far as the dead, unclear whether all of them are inside the facility or whether some might be outside, and that maybe also have to do with them not wanting helicopters over the scene. We're not positive on that. And there you see up to 3 shooters, 14 killed, up to 14 injured. Clint Van Sant, former FBI profiler, joins us right now. We've been talking about how they were prepared as if they were on a mission and, what you can read into that. This is, we tend to see these domestic terrorism things as someone who has a very specific grudge and generally one person with a specific grudge. Rarely do we, outside international terrorism, do we see a number of individuals. What stands out here to you?
Yeah, well, I think you're right, Lester. The challenge is, many times we'll have one person, whether it be an individual with a mental health condition or whether he or she was terminated from a job, whatever it may be. That's where we see these so-called lone wolves, because it's very hard to get 1 or 2 other people to adopt your cause, and especially in this case, to go out and commit mass murder and maybe put your life on the line. When we see something like that, it's usually individuals that have some type of long-term relationship. We've seen brothers and significant others that would work something like this together. But just to go out and pick 2 other people that and say, hey, I'm going to commit mass murder today, I need your help. Of course, the vast majority of people are going to say no. So that's the challenge for law enforcement, is what mission, what motive would inspire not 1, not 2, but perhaps 3 people to come together, assemble the uniforms, the weapons, the vehicles, to come up with the targeting information if in fact it was directed at a specific group in this conference center, and then go in and commit this act and still be able to escape, perhaps to up to 3 different locations. That's the frustration for law enforcement right now.
Yeah, the threat that maybe they have split apart, Clint. Let me bring in our justice correspondent, Pete Williams, in our Washington newsroom. You've been working the phones and your sources. What are you hearing, Pete?
Well, obviously the most important thing now is to try to figure out who these people were, and they're following a number of leads right now, some of which they don't want made public. But let me just tell you what some of the other things that they are doing. They're scouring the area for surveillance video from cameras near the scene. They'll be looking for any glimpse of what they believe was the getaway car, this dark SUV. They'll look for video that might show it either arriving or leaving the scene, and they'll hope that they can maybe get a license plate number off or a better description of the vehicle. They're obviously interviewing the people who were inside the building, trying to develop a better description of what the gunman looked like.
and any other clues that the witnesses could provide them. Did the gunmen say anything? What did their voices sound like? What were they wearing? That can all be important information. They're looking through social media. They're looking for any indication that the gunmen themselves may have discussed their attack in advance. They're looking for any threatening messages that may have been addressed against that building that was the focus of the attack today in San Bernardino. They're looking at their own threat streams that they've had over the last several hours and days, because local police, FBI, they get these threats all the time of people calling in to say they've heard something is going to happen. It's not unusual that they would even have threats against something in the L.A. area. They're going to go back and look at those again. All that's happening right now.
All right, and let's listen now to the mayor of San Bernardino. He's on KNBC.
Our sheriff's department also. They've done a great job of harnessing all the resources that they can. As you know, we have other agencies that are assisting and aiding in this. I appreciate all of the invitations and offers that we've received from both the state and local and county level that have been here on scene, make sure that the area is secure, and we've been in contact with the other major facilities that we have in our community to make sure that they're staying on top and that they're keeping their particular responsible facility safe and secure. So they have done that. I've been in touch with superintendent of schools, our Cal State president, as well as our community college, and they are all monitoring the situation, making sure that they take whatever protocols are necessary to make sure that their facilities are maintained and kept safe.
What do you want the fine people of San Bernardino, your constituents, to know about what's happening with the response and finding these people?
Well, I can't say too much more about that. You know that information needs to stay secure as long as it's an open investigation. We have to rely upon PD and as well as our sheriffs, and as you know, FBI is here to also provide and give us their support. Our community comes together at these times. They have in the past, and I'm very grateful that they will and expect that they will do the same thing. We want them also to stay away from the area. We want them to know to be also cautious and look out for any suspicious activity and report that as it's been indicated earlier to the tip lines, so that the police will have all the information that will help them to be able to move as quickly as possible at apprehending the suspects.
I know this has been very hard on you, being the mayor here and trying to resurrect this city that has seen so much other violence and firefighters and police officers asking for help because of the economy. How is it, in your eyes, now that you're going to have to deal with this huge tragedy, this human tragedy up on that? I mean, there's so much is on your shoulders now.
Well, I do believe that our council, together with the staff that we have, will come together. We will make the necessary changes to be sure that the community continues on that rise that we have been on. The bankruptcy certainly is one of the things that keeps us in the press. We are making progress. I think that will help to bring the city back into a more economically viable community. Certainly this adds a dimension of something that we're going to have to deal with. San Bernardino is very resilient. We will recover from this, and we will do the best that we can to make sure that our community continues to stay safe.
You know, you're going to have to probably leave this scene and face a very difficult scene. I'm sure you're going to be visiting victims' family members. How are you preparing for that?
Well, as any tragedy like this, is we rely upon that higher source that gives us that comfort. And I would just encourage those who are going through this to draw upon that faith that they have, that will be able to comfort them during this very tragic time. Their families are going to be impacted. It's something that they'll be dealing with for the rest of their lives. Our thoughts and prayers go out to them. We are certainly mourning with them at this particular time.
Thank you, Mayor Kerry Davis. Thank you so much, San Bernardino Mayor. Thank you for your time, sir. This city
listening to that interview via our station KNBC in Los Angeles with the mayor of San Bernardino expressing the concern that all of us are as this city deals with its this horrible loss of life, 14 dead, 14 injured, and the risk that the shooter or shooters are still at large. Let's go to NBC's Blake McCoy. He is there on the scene in San Bernardino. Blake, what do you have?
Well, Lester, we're waiting for another official update from authorities. We have been promised an update on the hour. Right now, the focus is clearing whoever's left inside of that building and, of course, the search for those suspects. We're hearing possibly 3 suspects. That's the assumption they're working off of. I can tell you this entire area around this facility has been blocked off. Law enforcement agencies from across the region have come in to assist in blocking off this area, but it's now been more than 3 hours since this shooting, so if the shooters really did escape in a dark-colored SUV, like authorities believe they did, they could be anywhere at this point.
All right, Blake, thanks very much. We want to go to Ron Allen now at the White House. Ron, we have almost come to expect to hear from the president at times like this. He was incidentally being interviewed today, I understand, and had some comments. What did he say?
Exactly, Lester. I think we may hear from the president later, but at this point things are so unsettled there. He's monitoring events, we understand, being briefed on what's happening out there. But yes, he was doing an interview with CBS News, our colleagues, in the moments after the shooting happened. Here's some of what he had to say, not knowing a lot about the detail just yet.
You know, my hope is that you know, we're able to contain this particular shooting, and we don't yet know what the motives of the shooters are. But what we do know is that there are steps we can take to make Americans safer, and that we should come together in a bipartisan basis at every level of government to you know, make these rare as opposed to normal. We should never think that this is something that just happens in the ordinary course of events, because it doesn't happen with the same frequency in other countries.
The president very concerned about what he says is a pattern, San Bernardino, Colorado, Oregon, Charleston, South Carolina, of these mass shootings. The president has been trying to push for some what he calls common sense gun control legislation, gun safety legislation, but he's been thwarted by the Congress. He also said that in an interview that it's incumbent on state, local governments to step forward as well to try and do something. Just yesterday, he was in Paris attending a global summit on climate change. He was asked about the situation at the Planned Parenthood facility, and he compared how much effort is put into combating terrorism and how little, as he sees it, is put into combating gun violence in the United States, which he insists claims many more lives in America. So that parallel. Again, we don't know if we're going to hear from the president this evening. I'm sure that they're waiting for events to unfold. It's still unclear exactly what happened there, whether this was terrorism, domestic terrorism, international terrorism, or a mass shooting of some sort involving some domestic issue. Who knows what at this point, tragically. But again, the president monitoring events, trying to keep tabs on what's going on, and we may perhaps hear from him later on. All right,
Paul. All right, Ron, thanks very much. As we wait to hear from police there in San Bernardino with another promised update, we want to let you know that House Speaker Paul Ryan, at the lighting of the Capitol Christmas tree, made some comments about the events in California a short time ago. Let's listen to that.
But before I begin, I just want to say that we are all thinking about the current and ongoing tragedy in California today. And I would like to have a brief moment of silence now for those who are affected. Please keep the victims and their families in your prayers right now.
Congressman Paul Ryan, just a short time ago at the scheduled lighting of the Capitol Christmas tree, calling for that moment of silence there as Washington and the rest of the country, frankly, waits to find out exactly how and what happened at that Developmental Disabilities Center in San Bernardino today. We know that 14 people are dead, 14 people injured there. But we know little else about the motivation of the shooter, or, as it turns out, possibly shooters. As many as 3 people, the police chief telling us, were involved in this and seemed to be on a mission, seemed to be well prepared for this shooting attack. And there are the numbers, the grim numbers. The police chief did note that those numbers could change as they get a better handle on the situation there. They have been making their way through those buildings, clearing them, doing secondary searches, making sure there were no devices left behind of an explosive nature, the usual things you would expect on the heels of this. Many of the people from those buildings safely evacuated, taken now away from the scene in school buses, but perhaps 100 or more police remain on the scene there, even as other locations are being either locked down or under heavier location, especially government places, courts, and city halls and hospitals were noted as well, of places that are being carefully watched right now. As to what they know about the shooters, in that last update, police being somewhat tight-lipped, noting that they do have active leads, but stopping at that and saying we don't want to further discuss that. But that at least offers a glimmer of hope that they know who they're looking for, or at least have a trail that they can follow. They do have put out a be on the lookout bulletin for a dark-colored SUV. There's the description, just a black SUV, possibly a Yukon, and they put this phone number up, 1-866-346-7632 is a number people can call with information. Now, whether one left in that vehicle or three may have been involved and split up, that remains a possibility as well. You can imagine the chaotic rush to the scene for police and the possibility of someone making their escape during that. That may very well be what happened here. But much of Southern California right now on alert, on the lookout for potentially 3 shooters who were involved in this. Pete Williams, our justice correspondent, continues to follow developments from Washington, D.C. What do you have, Pete?
Well, obviously the most important thing now is to try to find that SUV, and they've got lots of officers on the in the area looking for anything that matches that description, pulling them over, and that remains the focus right now. To try to find out if they can get a glimpse of it, if they can get some indication of where it might be, and try to pull it over and stop it, even if it's empty. That can be valuable information. That would be a huge break to try to trace it back. Where did it come from? Who had it? Look for fingerprint evidence. Were any weapons left behind? All that kind of thing. So that's the main focus right now, Lester.
All right, Pete. And in terms of, we heard the police and the FBI discuss the possibility, is this terrorism, domestic or otherwise? What does that trigger right now in Washington, D.C., where I think, like everywhere else, everyone's been on a kind of heightened sense of anxiety since Paris?
So 3 things about that, Lester. Number one is strictly a law enforcement. If the decision is made that it's domestic terrorism, then the FBI automatically takes the lead. The fact that the lead is still the local authorities tells you that no conclusion is made about that. And then, of course, obviously, if it is considered domestic terrorism, then the nationwide alert will go out telling the police that this has happened and they should be extra vigilant to things like that in their area. But I will say this, nobody that I've talked to knows who these people are or has even a clue who they are. So there's no confidence that they know what the motive was. Having said that, everybody I've talked to back here says it doesn't seem like terrorism. It doesn't seem to have any of the hallmarks. The target would seem an odd one. There was no statement, no yelling of any phrases like we've heard so often in other attacks like the ones in Paris. Nothing to indicate that it was terrorism. They can't say it wasn't. But everybody I've talked to, all the intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies back here that are following this, say there's no reason to think that it is.
And if the reports are true that these individuals were equipped with body armor, and at the least the police saying they were prepared for what they were going to do, that obviously leads to the conclusion that they intended an escape. So as they try to seek out a motive, does that help?
I don't know that it does. And the other thing is, so often people wear body armor in these active shooter situations without really thinking of what the end game is. So these people obviously did. And another thing to think about here, Lester, and another avenue that the authorities will look at is if, I have to remember how unusual this is. It's unusual in so many different respects. A, more than one gunman in an active shooter situation. That's just so unusual. 2, they got in and out so quickly. The thought is they must have been familiar with that building. That implies that they'd been in there before, that they maybe, so they're going to look at, talk to people. Have you seen people that look like this in that building in the last couple of weeks? Do they look familiar to you? Is there any reason to think that they might have been in there? Is there every reason to think that they had at some point, at least some of them, at some point had looked at it, because they seem to get in and out so quickly and not just sort of wander around. So that can be a piece of information as well.
Yeah, and I would think there would have to be, in terms of questioning people who were there, if there had been any ongoing disputes or disgruntled people.
Who's got a grudge?
That's the kind of stuff that would produce leads very quickly, I would think.
Yes, yes, and undoubtedly there, and it's clear that there are leads that they're running down based on that. How productive they'll be, who knows? I mean, they'll be chasing a lot of leads here. Most of them won't lead to the bad guys.
All right, Pete, let's go to Blake McCoy. He's on the scene there in San Bernardino. Blake, do you get the situation that they're standing down now, at least from that active shooter type alert?
We do get that feeling. We're about 2 blocks away from the regional center right now, and we just saw 4 more school buses brought down there. So they are allowing vehicles in to help evacuate people. So that would indicate that they're not on high alert like they were several hours ago, Lester.
Are members of the public there, or any of the evacuees, or is it now pretty much first responders and press where you are?
They pretty much cleared everyone out. We can tell you, though, many of the surrounding buildings, people are still on lockdown. So the buildings around that regional center, other businesses, they are still on lockdown at this point.
And I thought I understood the police chief to say that he would be giving hourly updates. Would we expect another one very soon?
Yeah, we should be expecting one in about 3 minutes. Of course, they have their hands full right now searching for possibly 3 shooters who got away in a black SUV. So that time, 3 minutes from now, that may shift a little bit if they're in the middle of something.
All right, Blake, thanks very much. You're watching along with Pete Williams in Washington. Pete, what's the FBI role here right now? We saw they were on the scene as well as the ATF. Are they observing now or an active part of the investigation?
Oh, no, they'll be very much an active part of the investigation, but the way these things work is the FBI and the ATF will take their direction from the local authorities. They're there to help at this point. They're not in charge. That there's a lot of things they can do, and they have a lot of things they have experience in. Now, one of the things that has to happen here, I mean, we've got basically 2 parallel investigations right now. One is outside that building, trying to find these people before they can shoot anyone else, get them arrested, and bring them to justice. Secondly, valuable evidence is inside that building. So there has to be evidence technicians that get to the scene, and they have to now start to reconstruct how this shooting happened. That's one thing that the FBI and the ATF are very good at. They have experienced evidence response technicians, and so that can be a big role for them in this, and that can take a lot of the pressure off of the local police, who can be freed up to do something else. Secondly, anytime they get a name or a possibility or a rumor or something that has to be checked out, the FBI and ATF can help run down those people, try to find them, interview them. So that's the kind of things that they can do to help.
And you had also mentioned, and this has become such an important part of so many investigations, surveillance of video. It seems ubiquitous.
Well, remember, it was the key piece of evidence that led to the arrest of the Tsarnaev brothers. That surveillance video taken from the restaurant that showed them walking up with their backpacks. It just shows you how key it can be. Right now, the interest, though, rather than building a criminal case, is to get people off the streets and find these gunmen and get them arrested. So that surveillance video, they're hoping, can give them clues about the car. Where was it headed? How did it get there? Are they lucky enough to find a license plate? Do they get a close-up view of any of these people? So those are the critical things, Lester.
All right, Pete, as we continue to watch some of these pictures of earlier when this was still considered an active shooter situation there in San Bernardino. You're watching NBC News live coverage of the mass shooting in San Bernardino. Some stations will return to regular programming. For others, NBC News coverage continues now.
Around,
and we welcome stations along the way as we continue our coverage of this ongoing breaking story. 14 dead, 14 injured as of an hour ago. Those latest numbers from San Bernardino police after up to 3 shooters, gunmen, burst into a Inland Regional Center, a developmental disability center there in San Bernardino, and opened fire in a central part of that building. Many people of the several hundred that worked there were safely evacuated, but again, 14 killed, up to 14 injured, and we're told those numbers are fluid. We're expecting an update shortly. Let's go right now to Blake McCoy, who's on the scene there and can describe what we know so far. Blake.
Well, Lester, this is very much an area on lockdown here. We are about 2 blocks away from the Inland Regional Center where this shooting occurred. We can tell you there are still evacuees behind me in that area. In fact, we're seeing some buses come out right now. It looks like city buses coming our way, presumably with evacuees on them, getting them out of this area. They're being escorted by police cars here. We have some city buses as well as school buses behind it. They were brought in to help remove people. We know there were several hundred people inside that building at the time the shooting occurred. And the focus for law enforcement right now is finding the shooters. They are working on the presumption that there are possibly 3 shooters that got away in a black SUV. Of course, that was almost 4 hours ago now, and if they still haven't found them, they could be anywhere at this point. We are awaiting another update from law enforcement, from the police chief, and you can see, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 school buses. And inside we can see the buses are pretty full with evacuees. That one was empty there. This one was empty. The ones before it, though, did have people on it. A lot of law enforcement out here right now working this scene. They told us their first goal was to make sure that the area behind me, that regional center, was secure and that they got all of those innocent people out of there. Now they are focusing on finding the shooters. The airspace around San Bernardino has been closed off for about 2 miles as a precaution. They have also put buildings around this facility on lockdown. They have put city and county buildings on lockdown, not knowing where those shooters may go next, if they have other targets. Schools were also on lockdown. The San Bernardino County School District, though, has confirmed that all of their students are safe. And police tell us at the hospitals where the victims have been taken, they have set up extra police patrols to make sure that those hospitals stay secure. Lester?
I realize they have you penned in there on that near that overpass, but were you able to get a sense, is there a residential community anywhere near where this happened? Or, I'm just curious what people are being told to do who are at home in this area.
Well, I can tell you, and this is basically by looking at Google Maps from above, because we haven't been allowed in the area. There is that regional center there. There are a few businesses around it. There's a golf course across the street where a lot of those people were initially evacuated to get them into a clear area and get them to safety. And then on the other side of the regional center is homes and neighborhoods. Keep in mind, though, we're 3 hours earlier from your time on the East Coast, so it was the middle of the day here when this shooting happened. Presumably most people in those homes were at work and not home at the time.
All right, Blake, thanks very much. Let's go to Clint Van Zandt again, who's been watching. He's a former FBI profiler. We keep focusing on the fact this could be up to 3 shooters, which puzzles everyone. What about the possibility of a family connection between the shooters? Is something that's crossed your mind?
Well, yeah, there's got to be something like that, Lester. I mean, you and I have talked earlier about the, proverbial lone white male who commits acts like this. And of course, it's not limited to any specific racial group. But in this particular case, we don't normally see multiple individuals involved in a mass murder like this. And if there is in fact more than one shooter, what we're going to find likely, Lester, is that there's going to be one individual that is the leader. He may be the one who is aggrieved by some particular group or some particular individual. Well, okay, we could say as terrible as that is, we understand that because we've seen it so many times in this country. But how does that person get 2 other people to join with him? Usually it takes some type of relationship, some type of, I was just talking to Chuck Todd, some type of emotional glue, Lester, that would allow 2 or 3 individuals to be so bonded that they would go out together to commit this terrible act of mass murder. But that's also going to help law enforcement identify them. Hopefully someone within the shooting scene heard something, saw something, recognized something, and coupled with, as Pete Williams talked about, photographs from the outside, pictures, investigations, will identify that primary person, and very quickly, just like the rings on a bullseye target, will identify that center person and then move out quickly to the second and perhaps third shooter.
Well, I noted in the news conference an hour ago, they were quick to put out a phone number to call if you had information. They put out a couple of phone numbers, which leads me to that question. Are they hoping that there's somebody who's watching this right now is going, oh my goodness, I heard someone talking about it. I heard something and it's adding up, and that kind of tip?
Absolutely. We know we look at social media to find individuals who have written on it. But to commit an act like this, someone had to talk. Someone had to say how angry, how upset, how aggrieved he was. That someone may be the same person who owns a black SUV that we've been told that law enforcement's looking at. That same person may have two other individuals that are bonded with him that would do something like this. So there's somebody sitting out there amongst 315 million Americans who says, you know what, I know somebody like that. I heard the guy say something. I saw him drive a vehicle like that. I know he bought some ammunition recently. Somebody has got something that'll break this wide open. And Lester, an investigation like this is just like a beach. A beach has got millions of grains of sand. But for law enforcement, it takes out one grain. It takes out one phone call where someone calls in and says, you know, I really ought to share that information. And hopefully we can find this 1, 2, or 3 shooters and get them off the street before they commit another similar act.
I mean, you're the profiler. I mean, how often have you seen what was otherwise described as a well-orchestrated or well-planned operation in which they made critical operational security mistakes?
Now, we've seen individuals, we've seen brothers and close friends bond together in burglary gangs or robbery gangs, but this is a quantum leap to commit an act of mass murder. And should we be able to develop a single fingerprint from one of the dozens of spent rounds that are likely laying on the floor, or should we get one snapshot of a license plate? There is so much of an investigative opportunity to solve this terrible crime. It's hard to imagine that we don't. Our challenge, Lester, is not that we can't eventually solve a crime like this. Our challenge is that we don't seem to be able to stop it before it takes place.
I take it that those closest to the shooter right now, assuming they're not being treated for serious wounds, are being questioned by authorities.
Well, they would be, very much so. If everyone who has seen this take place, heard something, can make any type of comment as to height, weight, the type of language that was used. Was it profanity? Was it targeted against one situation? Every person, as you watched earlier when they were being marched out of that building with their hands in the air, which is common practice, every person in that building will be interviewed by, did they see something at the time of the shooting? Did they see it earlier today? Have they seen anybody this week who may have been surveilling, reconnoitering the building, trying to find a way in and out? There's going to be people who know things. Those are the people that have to come forward to the investigators. We've got hundreds of cops, FBI, ATF agents out there. We need to use them by the public coming forward with information.
And I don't want to do a how-to for this kind of terror or criminal act, but when you looked at the layout of this facility, a few buildings and a large parking lot, did anything stand out as to why that would be an attractive target if all you were looking for was just a lot of people and there was no other motive?
Yeah, well, you know, Jim Kavanaugh made the statement earlier, and I agree 100%, that if it's a terrorist, if you want to get a lot of publicity, unfortunately, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you go to shopping malls or something like that where all of us say, that could be me, that could have been me. This seems to be specifically targeted to a building, to a room, to a group of people, maybe even to 1 or 2 people within that group. That's what law enforcement has to find out. Is this some terrible random act where they drove up in front of a random building and went in and started killing people they knew nothing about? Or was it specifically targeted? And again, what can that emotional glue be that would allow 3 individuals to bond together to agree to commit a terrible act like this? We see international terrorists do it in the name of religion or some other reason. Why would 3, and we don't know, it could be international terrorism, but if it's not, how could 3 rank-and-file individuals come together and commit an act like this? And why?
And these are more than academic questions, because a lot of people in Southern California want to know right now if this danger is continuing. We are expecting to hear from police. They had said there would be hourly updates. Obviously, they've got a lot of more important things to do right now than update us, but we would hope to hear from them shortly. I also want to take a moment and let you know that there will be a special 1-hour edition of NBC Nightly News starting here on the East Coast in about 20 minutes from now. We'll have full coverage of everything that's happened there today as well as the rest of the news. But if you are just joining us and settling in front of a TV, let's quickly bring you up to date. At least 14 dead, at least 14 injured in a gun attack at the Inland Regional Center, a developmental disability center that involves state and county employees as well as some other agencies that work within that particular area. Let's listen in now to KNBC's coverage.
At the hospital, the emergency room, of course, continues to operate. This is where 7 of the patients are being treated. We'll bring you more information.
Patrick, whatever you do, don't overfly it.
Patrick, we're going to stop you right now.
To the left a little bit.
We're going to go up to Gil Levis in News Chopper 4. Is this a suspect that we think we have here? Gil?
Yes, we understand that these are the suspects. There's been shots fired, multiple shots fired at this intersection. This is San Bernardino Avenue at just north of the 10 freeway here, really close to the scene. In fact, it's only a couple miles away from the scene. You can see officers scrambling around here, multiple shots fired. And if I can quickly talk to our NOC people, my IFB is breaking up pretty bad here. But again, they have the suspect pinned down. We understand that one suspect has been hit by gunfire, but there are multiple shots being fired as well. So again, this is just north of the 10 freeway along San Bernardino Avenue. And I'm listening to the police right now. Jim, keep it coming around.
This is live coverage you're watching on KNBC Los Angeles.
I can tell you that they're sending additional units here. And we're going to take a look at this vehicle right here. Jim, left turn.
And, Gil, just to clarify, is it one suspect? Is that all we're hearing right now is one suspect who's been shot?
We heard that one suspect was down, but there are other suspects still actively shooting at the officers here. So they do have the car surrounded. We're not sure if that's the vehicle here or not. We're just getting on scene. It looks like they are all pointing at this vehicle right here. It's a sedan. It looks like it's a 4-door. And try to get a better shot for you here as we come around.
Hey, Gil, as you're getting the shot there, let Whit and I ask you a few questions about this, if you will. Was this a chase? How did they find out about them? What do you know?
Yes, just in the last couple minutes, they went into pursuit of this vehicle. Now, they said that there were shots fired during the pursuit, and then it ended right here at this intersection. But again, it's a very chaotic scene. I can hear the officers talking about it on the frequency, and they are trying to talk to the suspects in the vehicle to surrender. We understand that one is shot, 2 still inside the vehicle at this point, but multiple shots fired at officers during this chase.
And you said the gunfire is still ongoing right now. Any reports of any officers who've been hit?
There was a report that there might be one officer hit. We don't know the condition of that officer at this point. But again, this is going to be just north of the 10 freeway. And I'm going to zoom out and show you just the intersection here as how many officers are involved here. And let me talk to my pilot real quick here. It's straight down my side. So we're going to continue on. We're hearing that the SWAT vehicles.
This is Lester Holt in New York. You're watching KNBC's live coverage. If you're just joining us, it looks like they have cornered the suspects in the San Bernardino shooting. We're hearing reports of shots fired. We'll let them continue their coverage and bring you up to date.
Okay, Jim.
Are we in the middle of a residential area here?
Right
Gil?
No. This is a commercial area, actually. No residents that we can see at this point, but very commercial in this area. In fact, this is directly south of the San Bernardino International Airport. Again, they're sending in the SWAT team right now to try to get these people to surrender. But we believe that this is the vehicle right here. We're hearing that we're hearing officers asking if there's any suspects that are outstanding that have maybe left, running away from the scene. But at this point, they're saying no. They believe that the suspects are within that vehicle right there.
Hey, Gil, I want to jump in just for a second. Our reporter, Tony Shin, is telling us that he's getting reports that 2 suspects are down. Of course, again, all of this unfolding before our very eyes. Preliminary reports. We're watching this. Gil, let me just ask you this. As we're watching it, can you tell us which law enforcement agencies are engaged right now? Is this San Bernardino Police? The Sheriff's Department.
This is live coverage from KNBC in Los Angeles. You've been following the shooting, 14 dead, 14 injured at a facility in San Bernardino. Not far from there, police have apparently cornered suspects. Their shots have been fired. Perhaps 2 suspects down, a third perhaps exchanging gunfire with police at this intersection, not far from the scene of today's shootings. We'll go back and listen to KNBC's coverage.
CHP and San Bernardino PD involved in this.
You know, Gil, as we continue to look at your picture here, do we have the ability to bring in Tony Shin? He's at the command post, may know a little bit more. All right, Tony, go. What do you have?
Now, within the past 10 minutes, Colleen, there has been a flurry of activity. We have seen police car after police car, also SWAT vehicles. I'm talking about the big ones, the big armored ones, going code, which means lights and sirens on, just blazing down Waterman Avenue, heading south. I'm presuming getting on the freeway and heading over to the other scene that Gil is above right now. Now, this is all scanner traffic. We can hear the police officers talking. Normally, we don't give out this information, but what they're talking about is it sounds like this is exactly what they're dealing with. We are hearing that there's one suspect down inside the vehicle, one suspect possibly down outside the vehicle, and another suspect on the run. This is what they're dealing with on the police scanners, where the police officers are actually talking to each other, trying to get into a situation so everybody knows what the possibilities are. Rapid fire shots. My photographer, Alex Vasquez, says rapid fire shots. They're talking about rapid fire shots, what goes along with what happened here with witnesses that we talked to who say that they saw 3 armed men with armor, with masks, with long guns, possibly assault rifles. We don't know, but we do know they were long rifles of some sort. And there was a flurry of shots being fired that were heard from witnesses that we talked to who thought there was a gun range back here in the riverbed, but it wasn't. What was happening was that tragedy that was happening inside that building that you could probably not see from where our vantage point is right now, because it is so far away. We are being kept far away from there. The reason being, it's an enormous crime scene. But once again, let's get back to the beginning, just within the past 10 minutes.
Hang on a second, Tony. We're just looking. Yeah. A pickup truck, a brown pickup truck, just drove right through the middle of this, turned the corner, and kept going. It was the most incredulous thing I think I've ever seen. Turned between the suspect vehicle and the 2 black and whites on the corner there.
It is absolutely amazing. You know, anybody who would come out and commit this type of atrocity, you just don't know what they're going to do. And I think what's happening right now is the unthinkable. People who do these kind of mass shootings are unimaginable, horrible human beings. We don't know what their motive is. We don't know why they would target innocent people at this center. Right now, it sounds like they're on the run. Hopefully, police are going to be able to get them all cornered so that way we can end this.
Well, Tony, right now our News Chopper 4 was following that vehicle. I think what it was is one of these armored vehicles that Tony was talking about, the heavily armored SWAT vehicles, ran through one scene, but we're getting reports that there are multiple scenes. And the black or the dark-colored SUV at one location as well. Again, 1 to 2 suspects down right now. And all of this matching up, we've been hearing the reports of the rapid gunfire, all of this matching up with what witnesses at the original scene, the Inland Regional Center, heard as well, that these men came prepared on a mission. And again, this looks to be the beginning of the end here as News Chopper 4 closes in on some of these SWAT vehicles. You can see members of the SWAT team, police officers, almost appearing to use the vehicle as a shield, but now it's moving forward. So again, bear with us as this is an extremely fluid situation. We're actually watching it from different angles in the studio here and bringing these pictures to you live right now.
Yeah, those are definitely SWAT vehicles, Whit, as we see them roll down. And what we're looking for here is a black SUV. We've heard it described as a Yukon. I think more appropriately, the most recent report I had, there it is right there. I think it might be an Expedition. It's in the middle of the road there. And there may be 1, possibly 2 suspects down in this SUV. Again, the SWAT rolling up in force here. You see 1 law enforcement off to the right-hand side of your screen.
And right now you can see those SWAT vehicles getting in position right now. The original area we were looking at was San Bernardino Avenue, north of the 10 freeway. They're being told this is, in fact, the SUV right now that has been shot out. There was a gun battle going on.
Bullet holes through the windshield here. All the windows are gone in the back. There you see the wipers going up and down. This there's definitely been a shootout with this.
Are we able to bring Gil Levis and News Chopper 4 back with us? Because I know he moved locations. Maybe there's something that he's been able to see or hear as he's been closing in on this area. The original area we were talking about, which was San Bernardino Ave, north of the 10, was more of a commercial area. This appears to be a little bit more residential. So obviously an incredible amount of danger if there's a gun battle where there are homes or there are people. And right now it just seems to be some kind of standoff situation. You see officers gathering behind those armored SWAT vehicles. They are not closing in on that black SUV at this point. Again, we were hearing reports of rapid fire, shots fired. So this could still be underway. Unfortunately, we don't have the audio of what's happening, so we're kind of just judging this based on the picture. Again, is there any way we can bring back Gil Levis and News Chopper 4?
Okay, there's no Gil right now. But, you know, I just got an email from Robert Kovacic. He's with the Hernandez Center, where families are waiting for loved ones. The mayor is there as well. They are blocks away, and they're being told to shelter in place. Let's go right out to that news conference and listen in.
The number of fatalities has remained at 14. We have a telephone number that we would like to provide for people that want to be united with their family that was possibly at the Inland Regional Center today. And that telephone number is 800-637-6653. We are asking that anybody that has family that was at this facility call this telephone number first. And the person will advise you where you need to go in order to talk to somebody, get reunited.
Okay, we're
with your
listening. We've been listening to some of the sound from the command post, but right now it appears everything is happening in this one location in San Bernardino Avenue. I can tell you as well, John Caddy's Climac is very close to the area, but this is where they appear to have cornered suspects here. There's been some sort of gun battle. We're focused right now on the SWAT teams and the officers who've rolled up on scene. And there you see they're starting to move, but there's also an SUV, a black SUV, windows blown out, what appears to be gunfire, bullet holes in the windshield there, and we understand one, perhaps two suspects are down.
We're also getting reports that an officer may have been injured as well, but we're hearing that officer is okay. Again, fluid situation right now. This is, we believe, that black SUV in question, the same SUV that witnesses in the initial shooting reported fleeing the scene with 1 to 3 suspects armed with long guns. We know that there was a rapid-fire shootout taking place, perhaps may still be underway because it's difficult for us to see exactly what's happening. We just know that the SWAT team has stayed away from the vehicle. They haven't closed in yet. 1 to 2 suspects shot dead, but they believe that a third was still shooting back. And now it looks like one of those vehicles is closing in.
As soon as we get any additional, hopefully within the hour.
Were any officers hit in the exchange of gunfire between the suspect and the officers?
I cannot confirm that. I know that all officers are okay.
So there are a couple things happening right now. We've got the press conference that's happening while the SWAT team is closing in. So we're going to go back and forth between these two pictures. If there's any way we could bring up both of them simultaneously or get back to News Chopper 4. The SWAT team, the image that we're seeing right now is 2 SWAT team vehicles bookending that black SUV. Nose to tail right now from News Chopper 4. We're trying to bring back that picture right now. Again, bear with us as we go back and forth between these two events unfolding live right now. But here is that picture. There you can see the SWAT vehicles.
This is Lester Holt in New York. This is continuing NBC News coverage of this, what is now a standoff with the apparent shooters in that San Bernardino office building today that killed 14 and injured 14 others. Police and SWAT apparently have that SUV that they'd been looking for cornered. There were broken windows suggesting an exchange of gunfire has taken place. Pete Williams, what are you hearing from your place?
Lester, we've been told by 2 law enforcement officials that 1 suspect is in custody and that 2 have been shot, and one of the 2 that's been shot is believed to be dead. Now, obviously, these are the first reports from the scene, but we've heard this from both local and federal officials that is the unfolding situation here. We can't say it with 100% certainty, but it does appear to be over.
And our thanks to our colleagues at KNBC in Los Angeles, providing this aerial picture now of this standoff, or what may be the end of this part of the drama. SWAT armored vehicles have now pinned in that SUV that they were searching for almost immediately after the shooting today in San Bernardino. 3 suspects in all was what they were looking for. The police have not emerged from behind those vehicles just yet, obviously wanting to make sure that there's no further threat there. As this scene was playing out, we were hearing a briefing from police back near the scene of today's tragedy, saying the number of dead remains at 14. 14 people are injured, and she had no word on any police officers being injured. But the SWAT team's now being very careful, very methodical as we watch this play out live. They seem to be actually pointing their guns away now as one of them, as they begin to pull back. So they seem to be pulling back now from this SUV. Obviously close enough they could observe what was happening, or perhaps what wasn't happening. The back, perhaps you can see even from this distance, the back window of the SUV appears to be blown out, presumably from gunfire. And we see that there is a residential neighborhood here in this area where this, perhaps the final act of this violent day is playing out. It's about 4.5 hours ago that police got word of shots breaking out at a developmental services complex. They rescued as many people as they could. They carried the injured away, but again, 14 people died, 14 other injured. Miguel Almaguer, you're near the original shooting scene. What are you hearing from there?
Lester, good evening. It's still very busy here at the crime scene, and we're told that live picture that you're looking at from our KNBC affiliate here in Los Angeles over the crime scene is just a few miles away from us. We know it's very active. I just walked away from a press conference where I did hear the public information officer tell us that it looks like one person has been engaged in a gun battle, and that person may be dead. The would not confirm that it was connected to this shooting, but she certainly alluded to it, saying they were looking for a suspect in a dark SUV. That is the suspect who was in that shootout with police. So certainly a very active crime scene here, Lester. Police also told us originally they were looking for 3 suspects. 3 suspects. And the officer telling us a short time ago at that press conference that only 1 suspect was engaged with a police officer in a gun battle. We're told again, it appears that suspect has been hit, may have been killed, but again, police were looking for 3 suspects. So that search all across this region for 2 more suspects, Lester, certainly underway.
And at the scene, have they finished their search now at the facility itself?
It sounds like officers are still in a very active situation behind me. More than 100 police officers about 3 blocks behind me, where we're told officers are still moving in and out of that building. It sounds like the situation is not quite as fluid as it used to be. We're not getting many updates from the scene. Police have asked us to let them do their work at the crime scene right now. I can tell you, though, many vehicles continue to pour in and out of this area, Lester, so it's certainly very busy here as police push forward, not just at this crime scene, but also several miles away where that gun battle took place.
And this is all within the San Bernardino itself?
Absolutely. It's just a few miles away from our understanding. We can hear the helicopters, the police helicopters in the distance, and see them in the distance. I can't tell you exactly how far it is from the crime scene here, but I know officers that immediately responded to here are also responding to that officer-involved shooting, so it seems as though it's all in the same jurisdiction, Lester.
And we're seeing those armored vehicles now. They've moved closer to the SUV, and the officers now are outside, so clearly they have observed the scene. Seems to be safe enough for them now as they begin to approach that vehicle. And again, you may be able to see that some of the windows were broken out, apparently from this gunfire, as police honed into this vehicle. Apparently the same vehicle, at least fitting the description of what witnesses had reported. We're going to pause here. We're going to continue our live coverage of this breaking story next on NBC Nightly News.